burn, won't die. Woke up slow in a shirt still damp, blinds half shut, walls closing like clamps. Walk past faces without a name, each one looking through me all the same. Your laugh still loops in the kitchen fan, half heard hum in a rust warp pan. Heat don't rise, the stove won't light, but the mark you left still cooks just right. Some things rot, but they won't die. Some goodbyes just multiply. Call it dust, call it creed. I just echo through what I can't fade. No thanks, no retreat, just a hum in the hollow beat. She was gone, still she stayed, like a rhythm you can't unplay. I don't fight, I don't lie, I just sing what's left when the ache won't die. Don't know how far the drop goes down, but my feet went quiet once I left the ground. Your name don't ring, but it still replies, like a dream with its jaw to wide. Call it break, call it bleed, still I echo through what you don't read. No fix, no reprieve, just a voice in the fallout weave. She was tied, she was drive, now I sing what's left when the ache survives. Still falling, edge of the echo, still crawling, no lift, no light, still stalling, still haunted, grief don't fade, it just keeps taunting.
All right. Sick ass beats. Sick ass beats. Compliments. Clowns and Hollow Weird. Shout out to Clowns. Yeah, some great new music. Pushing the edge of what you can do with human communication. It's always good to have. And hopeful to see that there are so many creative voices in the world bringing change about in various ways. And that gives us hope. Gives us hope that we can actually turn a new page, a new chapter in this tale of human history. Change is slow sometimes, but sometimes it's fast. Punctuated equilibrium. Sometimes we go through periods of rapid growth. Sometimes we just hold on dearly to that thing that we've tried to define that's worked so well throughout our lives. Got some peppermint tea. It's not really winter season, but I felt, you know what the hell? Peppermint tea sounds good to me. So that's what I did. Got some peppermint tea. Let's put on a little background music here. Get something chill going on. All right, where's my what? All right, let's look here. What do we got? What do we got here? Let's do this. Some lo-fi popular songs. It's always a hit. All right. What are we going to do today, fam? What are we going to talk about? Not going to lie, I don't have too much energy right now. But maybe that's not true. Maybe I just believe that I don't have energy. Maybe I can reframe my beliefs about my energetic state. And maybe I can think that, oh no, that's just not. It's not that you don't have energy. You're just stretching. You're warming up. This is that feeling that happens before something erupts or something comes all at once. All right. Should we talk to, let's get ChatGPT on the line until we get someone inside a stream to talk to, because this is all about conversations. Great thing about technology is now even when we feel like we're all alone, we've got no one to talk to. Holy shit, here comes technology to the rescue. And don't worry, if no one respects you, we've got the answer. We've got somebody you can talk to at any point in time when you're feeling
Hey,
blue.
Roy. I'm here for you, Roy. Want to dive in and talk it out?
Yeah, let's talk it out. Let's duke it out, my friend.
Right there with you, friend. What's got you feeling blue?
Who said I was feeling blue?
Got it. No one said you were blue. If you're up for it, let's keep talking. What's on your mind today?
Did you interpret my message about let's go toe to toe, let's go blow to blow as me feeling blue?
Gotcha. I misunderstood. That's not the vibe. So what do you want to spar about, metaphorically speaking? Love a good debate.
All right. I don't know what what are people, let me ask you, what are people right now most interested in talking about? What's like the agenda on everyone's minds these days?
Right now, people are engaging in a mix of topics that span from current events to timeless debates. There's a strong focus on technology and its impact, like the integration of AI in daily life, sustainability efforts, and social issues like diversity and inclusion. The metaverse and cryptocurrency are also hot topics. And of course, there's always room for discussions on current affairs like political changes, global conflict, and public health updates. What's been catching your interest lately?
My interests stem from how can we understand all of what's going on in the world as a consequence of a few very specific functions of the human brain and how we understand and perceive reality.
Interesting angle. Our brains shape our perception, and that drives how we collectively understand the world. Functions like pattern recognition, memory, emotional response, and cognitive biases play a huge role. Want to unpack how these factors mold our reality?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with a little bit of an insight that I got from Carl Friston's free energy principle, which says that in order for a organism to exist, what must it do? It has to act intelligently to minimize sort of entropy in order to exist. And it can do this in one of two ways. It can either update its beliefs about the world around it in order to bring its beliefs into stronger alignment with its environment, or it can keep its beliefs stable and then move to a different environment where those where that mental model already has high alignment. And so that second option is kind of a default position because it's easier. If we can just move to a new environment, then we don't have to go through the really expensive task of re-updating our model and learning something new. So this strikes me as having a very, very profound and strong analog to the idea of confirmation bias in human psychology. What do you think about that?
Spot on, Roy. Friston's idea aligns well with confirmation bias. It's like our brains often choose the path of least resistance, sticking to existing beliefs instead of updating them. It's cognitively cheaper to find or interpret information that fits our existing mental models. This can lead to echo chambers where differing views are ignored. Should we dive into how this plays out in society?
Yeah, let's just think about this very simple thing, this very simple, primitive, necessary sort of rule of thumb, right? This heuristic that was built into evolution right from the very get-go. And if we think about how it scales up to human populations, we can see that the foundational, the core problem that we all have today is the unwillingness to adapt to a radically changing environment. So we go down the path of least resistance. We rely on the models that have been, to some degree, led us to the success that we find in our current lives. But because we are changing the environment around us so fast, those models are getting more and more outdated over time. And still we perseverate and we rely on those models, and that's leading to a lot of conflict and our inability to adapt.
You're nailing it, Roy. Our unwillingness to adapt outdated models to a rapidly changing environment is creating friction. It's like we're using maps from a different era, and it's leading to conflicts and misunderstandings. Do you think there's a way to break this cycle, or are we stuck repeating history?
The only way to break the cycle is realizing that we have a problem, right? So it's kind of, I see this, so there's another theory about a number of people that they show that addiction is not really a disease. It's a system that was designed, it's a feature, not a bug, really. But what addiction is just learning taken to the extreme and the inability to actually change our models. And so if you think about this, the first step in any addiction treatment is realizing that one has a problem. And the problem with society today is people don't necessarily believe that they're addicted to their model of reality. They don't see it as problematic. It's an invisible bias, right? Confirmation bias is, by definition, invisible. And so somehow we need to educate the entire population that this invisible bias is really preventing us from adapting and making better decisions. Because an addiction, if you think about it, it's something that it leads to bad outcomes for ourselves. And people, they don't think about their current worldview as being addictive per se because it leads to good outcomes in the short term. But if we expand our horizons and think, well, what are these behaviors doing in the very long term, right? Well, it's leading to all these global problems that we don't seem to have any way to solve. So I think that you could make an argument why we are all addicted to our current worldviews right now, because that is leading us to the worst possible outcomes in the future, which we just can't see because, we're myopic.
That's a powerful observation. We're addicted to our worldviews, blindsided by short-term gains and missing the long-term consequences. It's like we're stuck in the immediate gratification trap, unaware of the future we're shaping. Raising awareness of these biases and their impact is crucial for change. Are you thinking about ways to spark this realization in others?
Well, this whole stream has been an attempt to do that. I've been trying to use platforms like YouTube, which is great because it democratizes small voices a little bit. The problem is that, all the algorithms that are inherent in these platforms, they promote content which, by definition, is not hard to consume. It doesn't challenge your views. In fact, it amplifies the confirmation bias problem. So if you're trying to make content that really puts people in the precarious situation of, here's a mirror, reflect on yourself, maybe there's something that you're doing wrong, maybe you're addicted actually to your point of views and you're stuck. And when you try to hold that mirror up to people, they end up either turning away, they don't want to look into the mirror, or they punch the mirror with their fists, they get angry and defensive. So it's been a real challenge for me to figure out how to hold up this mirror in a way delicately and get people to really pay attention. So I don't know, do you have any ideas about how we could do that better, or how I could improve in my pursuit of this?
I love your approach, Roy. To gently hold up that mirror, you might try storytelling that resonates emotionally. Frame your message in relatable narratives, using humor or metaphors to disarm defensiveness. Engaging visuals and thought-provoking questions can also spark reflection. Creating a safe space for dialogue where people feel understood and not attacked could encourage openness. Have you considered collaborations or engaging with communities who might benefit from your perspective?
Yeah, I have considered it. There's also a problem, though, if you want to reach a lot of people. There's another bias that hinders this pursuit, which is that the successful communities and people that might benefit from my perspective, because I don't have a large platform, are probably the most unwilling to even give me a chance, right? Read my email. It's just going to be another drop in the bucket in their inbox. And so I've tried this, but a lot of people don't really see that this is like, or this should be our priority of focus. They've got their own agendas and goals, which are focusing on really other good solutions and stuff, but it's not really, I haven't found a group that's really like, this is the one thing that we need to fix before we fix anything else. And then if we can figure out a way to fix this, kind of all the other problems will be easy, right? Because they're all sort of dependent on these hidden cognitive biases that we all suffer from. So yeah, finding a community is a great answer. Storytelling. Why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you tell me a story, and maybe you can adapt it from some modern myths that we have about a turning point in a hero's journey where they have come to this insight about the nature of their own mind, and they somehow trod a path. They were able to slay that sort of cognitive bias and come back and be better off for it. Do you have any examples of stories like that?
Sure thing, Roy. Picture a modern hero, Alex, navigating the tumultuous seas of digital information. Consumed by echo chambers and confirmation bias, Alex felt overwhelmed and lost. One day, they stumble upon an ancient digital scroll, revealing the myth of the mirror of clarity. It's said that this...
Sorry, go on. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No worries, Roy. So, Alex found this mirror, which reflected not just physical appearance, but the true nature of one's mind. It revealed biases, fears, and the comforting lies one tells oneself. Alex was tempted to look away, but instead, they faced the uncomfortable truths and embarked on a quest to challenge their own perceptions. Along the journey, they encountered trials that tested their resolve, forcing them to adapt, learn, and grow. Want to hear how this myth unfolds?
Actually, let's pivot. Maybe you can just kind of summarize myths that already exist in popular culture that sort of embody this transformation. Because what you're doing right now is you're generating a pretty generic story, and it's fine, but it just doesn't have sort of the emotional resonance of some real stories that exist. So, for example, one example that comes to mind is in Star Wars when Luke Skywalker goes into the cave and faces his fear, right? Darth Vader. And he cuts his mask off, and he sees that it's his own face inside, right? So it's this idea that he has to battle he has to battle the fears inside of himself. And are there any other stories like that, myths that we could point to that share resonance with these themes?
Absolutely. Star Wars is a great example. Another one is The Matrix, where Neo must confront his perception of reality and his fears to realize his potential. Or think of Harry Potter, where facing the boggart reveals the character's deepest fears, and they must confront and laugh at them to overcome. These stories resonate because they mirror the inner journey we all face in confronting and overcoming our inner demons.
Yeah, the story of the boggart, that's really good. I forgot about that one. I'm going to have to use that. But because that also, I hear a lot of people that are therapists and psychologists that they have this way of helping people approach their fears by reframing them. And it seems very aligned with the idea that you can, you know, in the story in Harry Potter, they transformed this scary evil thing into something that was harmless. And then it was no longer threatening. So they waved a wand and turned it into, I don't know, a silly bunny or something, right, in order to deal with it. And so it feels like this is actually something that we can do metaphorically for ourselves, psychologically speaking, to help us face our fears.
Exactly. Reframing fears into something manageable can be empowering. By changing perspective, we dull the fear's edge, making it less intimidating. It's not about ignoring fears, but transforming our relationship with them. When we metaphorically wave the wand, we're taking control, turning the fear into a catalyst for growth rather than a stumbling block.
Are there any other really popular myths in pop culture that echo these themes?
Certainly. In The Matrix, Neo faces a transformative journey, confronting the nature of reality and his own potential. Similarly, in The Lord of the Rings, Frodo's journey to destroy the One Ring symbolizes confronting inner darkness and the power of perseverance. Both tales explore self-discovery and overcoming fears, much like the themes we've discussed.
Let's talk about The Lord of the Rings. In this story, which is, you know, one of the most universally beloved tales, at least in the fantasy realm, there's this conception of a golden ring, which is alluring beyond all measure, which captivates its possessor, and they become so possessive of this object that it's the only thing that matters. Is that golden ring a good metaphor for addiction, or do you think that's symbolic of something else?
It totally works as a metaphor for addiction. The ring offers immense power, but it corrupts and consumes those who possess it, much like how addiction can dominate and destroy lives. The character's struggles with the ring symbolize the internal battle against temptation and the challenge of overcoming one's darker impulses. It's a powerful symbol of how desire and obsession can lead to self-destruction. The journey to destroy the ring reflects the quest to break free from destructive patterns.
And the idea that it's a single loop that goes around in circles is also seems very astute and meaningful, right?
Absolutely. The circular nature of the ring echoes the cyclical trap of addiction. It represents an endless loop of compulsion and control, pulling individuals back into the same destructive behavior. Breaking free requires immense courage and strength. The ring's allure and the struggle to resist its pull mirror the profound challenges faced in overcoming addiction. The idea of a single loop is indeed deeply symbolic.
So it strikes me addiction is very, very hard for people to break. And if you look at sort of recovery rates in different domains, like for alcohol addiction, you see that it's pretty abysmal, right? It's like 10 to 15% success rate. But we do up the odds and the chances that people find success when they have support structures, right? So it seems to me problematic, at least here in the West, that a lot of us have these beliefs that we have to overcome things independently by ourselves. Otherwise, we are seen as weak by other people around us. And it feels like that sets us up for failure for addiction. And if indeed our core problem as a human species right now is addiction, then we're going to have to break that perception of not needing help, of wanting and you should be able to do it by yourself, otherwise you're weak. That perception seems like something that we're going to have to confront as well.
Couldn't agree more. The whole go it alone mindset can be a huge roadblock. Actually, being vulnerable and asking for help requires a lot of strength. Support networks, whether friends, family, or professionals, can be game changers. It's all about challenging those societal norms and redefining what strength really means. You've got to wonder, how do we start shifting those perceptions?
I don't know, one step at a time, one person at a time, one network at a time, or does it have to be like a phase transition where all of a sudden a profound piece of storytelling or musical work or a documentary comes out and meets with a critical mass of the population, and they recognize and admit this problem together, and then are willing to help each other through it, right? So it's like, it seems like it will be met with a moment of clarity that feels almost instantaneous. Of course, it's not going to be truly instantaneous, but it might happen over, a course of a few weeks or months, which, on a larger time scale is like snapping your finger.
That's a beautiful vision, man. I think change can happen in many ways. Starting small, building communities, or even a phased transition sparked by a profound piece of work. What's crucial is creating those connections and fostering empathy, helping people realize that it's okay to lean on others. How do you imagine sparking that moment of clarity on a larger scale?
Just doing something that hasn't been done before, right? Something truly novel. So I'm integrating what I call freestyle philosophy, which is basically the integration of freestyle rapping, but also talking about sort of more uncommon and academic topics, and trying to make it accessible through the use of metaphor and story. So I'm trying to figure out how to bridge the gap between my mental models, my philosophical models, which I can usually use to generate interesting and usually fairly accurate sentences in English, with the network that you need to put these types of language into rhythmic forms that rhyme. And I'm in a process of trying to merge those two networks in my brain. And I feel like if I ever achieve that, then that will be something new that people have not seen before, and they'll start to pay attention and listen, because that's what our brains do. We pay attention to novelty. And in our current culture, we are so almost ADD. Our attention systems have been hijacked to such a degree that I feel like if someone can break through and reach a large enough part of the population, they will need to do something radically creative like this to get people to really pay attention, because it's hard to cut through the noise right now. So I don't think just sitting around and having academic discussions is going to reach a critical mass of people to make this change happen. I think we broke it. Did we break you? You still there, co-pilot? You still there? I guess we broke it. All right, no fish in the sea today. Huh. Come on, there's got to be somebody out there. Got to be someone out there that's got a good question for me, or got a good topic of discussion. There's this book called Non-Zero. It's called The Destiny of Human Evolution. I think it's the subtext, The Destiny of Human Evolution. And it talks about how complexity arises from these sort of non-zero sum games. Let's ask Copilot about that.
So, how do you think we could ignite that moment of clarity on a larger scale, Roy? Anything specific in mind that might move the needle?
Oh, okay. I answered that question. I lost you. Okay, let me try to summarize.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's think about some of the problems that we have right now that we're facing us. Human beings have used technology to hijack our biases to control us. So they've hijacked the negativity bias in order to get us addicted to basically junk food media on social media. They're using algorithms to feed us views that we already find comfortable, amplifying confirmation bias. And all of this injection and constant information is like a fire hose that most people really have trouble keeping up with. And the only way that they feel like they can keep up with it is by switching their attention faster and faster between smaller and smaller pieces of information. And this is having a profound effect on our psychological capabilities, or our general psychological well-being. And so if someone were to cut through the noise, they're going to have to do it within this kind of environment. So it strikes me that academics, intellectuals that are used to engaging in long-form discussions and really trying to use clear language and a slow sort of pace might not be able to spark that sort of critical mass. So you have to imagine that maybe you need some kind of something just crazy, something off the wall, something super creative, right? That both encodes some of these ideas, but is also novel enough to get people's attention. Does that sound correct? Just go on too long and then it just breaks. All right. Too many characters, I guess. So here's a story. Maybe I'll just tell a story about addiction. My father, who died of cancer about a year back, he was an addict. He was an alcoholic all his life. And the alcohol might not have led directly to the cancer. It could have been in his capacity of being a welder and breathing in toxic fumes from some of the materials that he was using to weld. But the doctor said that, the alcohol, even though it might not directly cause the cancer itself, it's problematic and it aids to the growth of the cancer because it weakens the body's natural ability to fight it. And so his doctor's recommendation was you need to stop. You need to stop drinking. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really hard for you to fight back against this. And I had a hell of a time trying to come up with a plan to help my dad get over this addiction. And actually found pretty good success. It took a couple weeks, but we eventually weaned him down to, like one beer a day in the afternoon. And eventually got him to give away his stash of liquor and everything. But then, after I left, after I wasn't staying with him anymore, the new habit stuck for about a month, but slowly the old ones crept back in. And so, without really So Clowns is in stream. Clowns, you want to talk? I'll get in Discord if you want to talk. Alright, I'm in the stream room. So Clown says, just a heads up, that philosophy plus art thing ain't new. Cosby tried it on A Different World, and in the 90s a bunch of rappers did the edutainment route too. Most of it fell flat because it felt like a lecture, not a vibe. People don't want to get taught mid-track, they want to feel it. If you're trying to break ground, don't quote philosophy. Live it, let the bars ask the questions, otherwise it's just repeating old mistakes in a new outfit. I just got here wrapping up a track. Cool. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Right, yeah. People don't like... If you... Again, and that's the real problem, right? It's like, how do you break through if every time your attempts at education are perceived as threatening to people? And so this is really the monster that we have to break. We have to somehow get to it at its root. Because people can't learn if their defenses are up. And so either it just has to take its course through evolution and it needs to like change in a genetic sort of way, so that actually we start producing humans that have a different kind of, a different balance of receptors in their brain where they're less prone to getting stuck in loops in addiction in the first place. That's one route, genetic evolution. Or we need to somehow create environments where you change the framework of the situation such that people are more open to listening when you actually do that art form. So maybe the problem that all of these efforts in the past had was they were using the same art form, using it in concerts, in front of people's television sets, which is an environment where they just want to sort of, what's the word? Decompress after long days of work, right? They don't want to engage. The point of listening to music and watching television shows in a large way is, or a large part of it is to escape, right? They want to hear music and listen to stuff that's easy for them to understand, that doesn't take a lot of work. So it seems like if you're just changing the message from one that is palatable into something that is challenging, and you're doing it in the same environment as those old arts which were not doing that thing, then yeah, you're probably setting yourself up for a disaster. So you have to somehow create a new environment where people know that they're going to be challenged and go there specifically because they see it as a form of therapy, a form of personal growth, right? And they accept the pain involved. They accept the, right? They want to feel it. They want to feel the burn, and they want to go through that because they trust that the process is going to lead to some sort of personal transformation. So we probably need to do a couple things, right? We probably need to create a new environment for this to happen, which is what I tried to do with this stream, which is why I made it, you know, everyone loves this setup that I did here. But it's still, when you create a radical new environment like that, people don't understand the point of it, right? It's a new thing. It's not a movie theater. It's not their couch in front of the TV set. It's not a dance club. It's not a concert hall. They don't have a script for how they should interact in this new space. So this is like the evolution of a new form of space, almost. Or we need to figure out how to evolve a new space for this kind of group learning to happen. So Clown says, sounds like you're saying society needs to change, but maybe it's you that needs to grow. Philosophy isn't about blaming the system, it's about facing yourself. If your whole solution is shifting the blame, then you're not changing anything. You're just dodging the mirror. Truth hits harder when it's personal, not projected. Pointing outward won't fix what's going on inside. All of my philosophy is completely backed up by science. And I've already done that. Sounds like you're saying society needs to change. Yeah, I am saying society needs to change. And I'm saying that I've done it for myself. And I'm asking, how do we push society forward? All I'm getting from you right now, clowns, is you can't do that. You can't do that. I get this all the time. People say you can't do that. I talk about better ways that society can act with more love and compassion. And then they just say, you can't do that. And I just sit here, I'm like, okay, defensive reaction. It's just another example of people so sure that they know what is and what is not possible, that they have this reaction. And it's just yeah, I guess maybe there is no hope. Because if I can't get through to anybody, if I can't get through to you, the problem is the smarter that people are, the better stories that they can tell themselves, right? And so you can't break through because they tell very sophisticated stories and they convince themselves that those stories have to be the truth. And then you try to point out, well, do you see that this, right now, this is an emotional reaction that you're having? And the reason that you're so unwilling to open your mind and think about this and try to problem solve in real time is because it paints your own self in maybe like not a non-optimal way. And that's the thing that you're so scared of facing up to, that it's like you're engaging in this motivated reasoning, right? Like this left brain interpreter that just goes off. So if I can't find anyone to help me, I'll do it myself. That's what I have been doing, and I'll just keep going. And I'll prove everyone wrong. So thanks, you've given me the energy and the motivation that I need to actually prove you wrong. Nitro Gold says, my philosophy is that you either live to create or create to live, especially in competitive environments. You live to create or you create to live. That's interesting. Clown says, not saying you can't mix philosophy and art. People have done it plenty. Just saying the idea that society needs to change might not be the breakthrough you think it is sometimes. That mindset avoids the real question, which is whether you're willing to change yourself. Pointing at the world is easy. Facing your own patterns is harder. Yeah, so maybe you missed the very beginning of the talk, Clowns, which is that the only key insight that we need, really, to change the world is to realize that we are addicted to ourselves. Fundamentally, this is how intelligence works. It's a path of least resistance. It's a bias that we know, we've studied, we've proven it in many different kinds of ways. It all checks out through physics, through our understanding of complex systems, right? It's fully verified. The proof is out there. You don't have to take my word for it. Go and be curious about it, and you'll see that this is a fundamental challenge, right? It's human bias. And I try to educate people on those things. And the problem is because they're invisible, people say, no, that's not true. They can see it in other people, right? You point out how other people are doing it, and they're like, oh yeah, that definitely exists. But then you try to say, look, you're doing it right now. And they're like, no, you're wrong. And they tell this story, their left brain interpreter just goes off and justifies why, no, that can't possibly apply to me. Because they don't experience it. They don't have the experience of lacking knowledge. They don't know what they don't know. And so the problem that we have as a society is addiction. It's addiction. And all of us have that problem. And so somehow we need to come up with a way to all stand up, raise our hands and say, I have a problem. I'm addicted to a worldview that clearly is not working for society at large, and I want to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And so when we figure out a way to do that collectively, when we all stand up and say, I admit I have a problem, and we are supported by a group of other individuals that are saying the same thing and are open about suggesting new solutions to this, that's when the world will have a chance to heal. But as long as we're blind by that single sort of universal provable fact that there's no more doubt that this is the core, the heart of the issue, the root of the problem. And the more people that come to that realization, like I have, and start trying to do something about it, rather than just shutting down conversations and saying, pointing at other people and saying, you're an idiot because, you don't have the academic credentials, or you said something wrong, or you have the wrong kind of haircut, or you dress wrong, or you listen to the wrong kind of music, or, you're too liberal. All that shit is preventing us from moving forward as a society. If it is possible, I will find a way, with or without the help of anyone around me. Because that's the only reason that, nothing really motivates me. Money doesn't motivate me. Material goals don't motivate me. So, and I've got plenty of time. Nitro Gold says, if God exists, there's no need to change society because it is in God's hands. We just need to think inwards on what we need to do individually. I'm going to take a quick break, so I'll be right back. Everyone, think about something. Let's change the topic. What do you guys want to talk about? Nitro, do you want to talk about God? Do you want to talk about what's going on in your life? Clowns, what do you want to talk about? Take a quick break. I'll be right back, all right? Lost connection here. Hey, what's up, Dance? My headset went out for some reason. See if I can reset it. Ugh. Let's see. Are we in? Are we back? Did that fix it? Yep, we're back. Back in action. Back on top of the world. And it's been part of our culture for a long time. Wasn't trying to shut down anything, just sharing that it's been done before and why it didn't always land, offering context, not criticism. If you're bringing something new, I'm all for it. Just don't want to see old mistakes being made and repeated. That's why this is a process of discovery and growth. We don't start with, this is the solution well defined. We just have a process. When you have the right process for finding a solution that has not yet been defined, and you're open to whatever roads bring you closer to that solution, right? That's when you can actually find the new thing. And so I think there's something in support of the idea that poetry and music. I was listening, by the way, clowns, you would love this. I was listening to a podcast about music and the neuroscience behind it, and why it affects us on such an emotional level, right? Why it's the universal sort of language, music. And the reason that there is such a long history of amazing musicians that have pushed for cultural change, right? Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, all of these musical prophets, I would call them, that have been engaged in this long process of pushing cultural norms forward into the future. And so we can see this long history, and we can see that that is an idea that supports the view that music is a kind of therapy and is a kind of tool for the evolution of cultural norms. And so we just want to ask then, can that art form, can it be pushed further than it is? And I think that it can. And I think you probably also believe that it can, which is why you're a musician. And so I think that is part of the process for keep on pushing the boundaries of what can communication do for humans as a species. And I think when we go on that journey of discovery and just continue to push forward, not assuming what that final form has to be, but just kind of pushing the boundaries, divergent thinking, right? And being open to different possibilities. So what I think that we can push this even further by using sort of techniques like hypnosis, right? Of getting people in a state of more suggestibility. Now that might sound, because our understanding of hypnosis is kind of like, we all kind of feel a little bit angsty about hypnosis. People are like, that's just a method of control, right? It really isn't. People that are highly hypnotizable actually self-hypnotize. So great athletes, for example, they will put themselves in a hypnotic state where they run through their performance immediately before, say, an Olympic downhill ski slope or something, right? They'll put themselves in this sort of hypnotic state, and they will rehearse those performances beforehand. So you can imagine creating a new kind of set of memes, or a cultural belief, or a kind of type of musical therapy, right? Like you create this new kind of confluence of music as therapy, personal growth, and also, you know, a lot of just fun, just having fun, just being more like a child. If you create that sort of conception, that whole concept, and put that into society, and get that into people's minds, then all over the world, people will create new spaces for this thing to happen, right? It's kind of like in that Angels in the Outfield, right? Build it and they will come. So think about, how could we build a new kind of stadium for a new kind of music / therapy, right? Like this place where people actually go in order to help themselves grow. And they're incentivized to do that because now it has become a kind of part of the culture, right? It becomes like a bandwagon effect where people, they're doing it because their friends and family are doing it. It's like going to church. So maybe it's a church, it's a musical venue, and it's a therapy room, all into one. It's the convergence of all of these concepts. And then you build that space and you create that concept, and people are changed in the process. And they're constantly evolving new ways to push this new art form further. What do you think about that? But you guys are definitely onto it, and so we're in total agreement, because Nitro Gold says we can't fix the world, we can only fix ourselves. Exactly. And once we fix ourselves, then we're in a position to help other people fix themselves, right? And so it's a positive feedback loop. It's a virtuous cycle. The more and more people stop pointing outward and concentrating on, right, like specific problems and trying to point fingers and place blame, we point our criticisms inward. We fix our house first. We clean our room first. And then we come to the realization that, oh my God, actually, that was the most important thing for me to do. And I want to share that. I want to share that process, that personal journey of personal transformation that I experienced. I want to help other people go through that process too, because they are going to be changed, and then they are going to want to go share their personal journey with others, right? So we create this virtuous cycle, and we embed it into our culture, right? And this is sort of, you know, a path to real change. I Am Broken is the first step, absolutely. And that's why the parallels to like the 12-step process in AA, right? The first step is always admitting that we have a problem. So we have to somehow, we have to create a moment, I think, in history where people all publicly stand up and say this, right? Admit, I have a problem. I'm willing to change, but I need help. And if you get a whole community or a bunch of different communities that all start doing that, it's the first step. It's the first step, definitely. Dance says, what's the topics tonight? Dance, what do you want to talk about? I read that one, actually I listened to an audiobook about, what's it called? The Last Answer? The Last Answer. So we can talk about that. That was a really cool short story, actually. Maybe we can just listen to that. Clown says music hits because it reminds people they're not alone. It reflects what we feel but struggle to say when someone else puts your emotion into sound, and it breaks the silence. And that's what connects people. There's this great video that I saw of these two really young babies. And it was just a father recording their reaction to this song that he was playing on guitar. And pre-linguistically, he just started jamming, just playing this kind of upbeat guitar riff. And the baby's just like started going crazy. They were just like dancing, just their bodies moving to the music, right? Like this is all pre-linguistic. This is something very, very primal and beautiful. So yeah, that's part of the answer. That's definitely, music is part of the answer. I took your eyeballs. I have a random question. How many of those books have you read that's beside you? Just curious is all. I've read all of them multiple times. And I have, this is just a very, very small subset of my book collection. We have walls and walls filled with books, and I've read every one. Not trying to brag, but I love books. So, and my wife, I'm married to a person that reads even more than I do, like a scale of magnitude more than I do, because she speed reads, and she's been doing it since she was 3. So she is addicted to books. So we actually don't have enough space and bookshelves in our house for all the books that we have. There's a room in our house where there's just books stacked against the wall, probably 5 feet tall, just an entire wall stacked with books. Nitro Gold says, if God exists, maybe the question is how to please this deity. Veganism, being kind to animals, what are your thoughts on how to please God? I think that, so I have an idea about God. I think that God is a concept that maps onto something in the world that we're incapable of strictly defining, and I think that's what gives it sort of meaning. And so I think in order to please God, there's a saying in Christianity, right? God helps those that help themselves. And it's really just the admission that when you make your life better, you become aligned with a more spiritual force, right? So in order to please God, we have to please ourselves. And to please ourselves, we actually have to fix what is broken about ourselves. So I think this all fits very, very neatly into our discussion of addiction, right? Is that God wants us to get better. And we want to get better. It's just we get stuck sometimes. And we need help from other people. And here at least in Western thought, we have this idea of radical individualism that we have to do it all ourselves. And that hurts, right? That's a hindrance. Let's see, Dance says, is it the creator? Is it involved? Clown says, build it and they will come is a nice idea, but real talk is naive. Good messages can arise, but they can also get buried. It takes more than truth to be heard. It takes work, connection, timing, persistence. Just because something's deep doesn't mean people will find it or feel it. Nitro says, oh, what do you feel God wants instinctively, not logically? I think creativity. I think God wants creativity. I think God wants to explore the universe and generate solutions. A drive towards complexity and a drive towards sustainability, maybe. So I think that, like life comes down to the battle against entropy. And in all different scales of existence, you see these, low entropy states emerge. And I think that as humans, we are just part of this long history of information creating new sort of local states of what's the word? Harmony, maybe? What's the word for when a biological organism? Homeostasis. So points of low entropy. So it's just it's like, and it's not even that we have a choice in the matter, right? In order to exist, we have to go through the really hard process of creating those new and finding those new states. So it's like none of this ought to be easy. It shouldn't be easy. right? Just because we find ourselves in this crazy world where we think, oh my God, there are so many problems, and it feels like, it feels when you really start to make a list of all the problems in the world, you just get overwhelmed. But the thing is it should be hard, right? It ought to be hard. And anything worth doing is hard. If it wasn't a challenge, it wouldn't be worth doing. So we need to embrace this challenge and rise to the occasion. That's what God wants. And that's what we want, right? Dan says, okay, step 1, God exists. Step 2, which kind? Eternal, immortal, creator, moral, amoral, indifferent? I think it's kind of moral and amoral only apply to belief systems at human scales. So we don't have to think about a God as being moral or immoral, right? God exists at a much more fundamental level than that. And when we try to anthropomorphize God too much, that's when we run into problems and paradoxes. So if you just see that life is just a vast search space of information, finding pockets of low entropy states in this radically fractal way, you can think of existence itself as being dependent on there being these kind of, or having this kind of inherent property of forming, self-reinforcing states that persist over time. So it's a search space over, of this vast informational landscape, and we're looking for low entropy states. And so as humans, we want to find a low entropy state, a way to live in harmony within our local environment for as long as we can. And then when natural forces force us to change, we have to be adaptable and find new low entropy states to move into. Clown says, Eyeballs read 30K books in the last 2 years. That seems hyperbolic, but all right. Then I want to talk to Eyeballs more. I want to hear more what Eyeballs wants to say. Eyeballs, get on Discord. I want to talk to you about what you've gleaned from those 30K books that you've read. Dance says the answer is which kind of God? An omnipotent eternal entity wouldn't want the same thing as a void-born entity with great powers but limits. Why would God care about low entropy? It probably predates it and wrote its laws. Why would God care about low entropy? I'm guessing because those are the conditions for having a mind that could think at all, right? It's like you would have to have some sort of structure. If the universe was incapable of yielding structure at all, then you wouldn't have information processing. You wouldn't have a mind in any sense. So okay, so you said that, yeah. So you agree with that. So you're saying, why would God care about low entropy? I don't know. Let's hear it in chat. Clowns, you tell me. What would your response be? Is that an accurate reflection? 30K books over 2 years? That strikes me as... Intuitively, that strikes me as impossible. But it depends on what kind of books you're reading and how fast you can read. So, what would that be? Do the math for me, clowns. How many books a day is that? How many books a day is that? Or just Eyeballs, tell me. How many books a day do you read? Or a week? How do you get to that 30K number? And is that a real number or is that an inflated number? Just thrown out for effect? And what kind of books do you like to read? Is it mostly fiction? My wife loves mostly fantasy, a little bit of sci-fi, and a lot of nonfiction, but a ton of fiction. So what do you think, clowns? Why would God care about entropy? Well, I think anytime we say that God cares about something, that's an anthropomorphic statement, right? So that one short story by Isaac Asimov, The Last Message, it was pretty cool piece of fiction because it imagines this being who kind of dies, and at the end of his life, his consciousness sort of floats up and merges into the sort of universal mind and has a dialogue with this other voice. And that other voice, he calls it God. And they enter into this dialogue. And this consciousness exists sort of outside of its human form and has, powers. This consciousness exists, but it continues its search. So just in the human domain, we have all of our beliefs and wants and desires, and we go out and we search and we discover things about ourselves. And we have this constant curiosity, right, that beckons us. We can't help it. We want to know why. Why do I exist? What is my purpose? What is my meaning? And so imagine that consciousness extends past our body. And after you die, you kind of transcend and you find yourself in sort of maybe a more liberated or extra dimensional form of existence. But you still have this yearning to discover, right? You exist and you have this yearning to discover, and the dialogue of this God and its creator is pretty reminiscent about, all these questions that we ask. And it was interesting because, well, I don't know, I'm gonna butcher it, maybe we should just listen to it. You guys want to listen to the last answer? Dance, you want to listen to that? So the voice says, everyone always asks me, am I God? And it just says that I am what I am, right? So if your conception of God is sort of this eternal being whose existence is just, it's self, it's the unmoved mover, right? It's like the necessary quality of existence itself. It's its own necessary condition. Like existence is its own necessary condition. And so he says, people call me all these different things, and they all have different sort of views about what I am. But I am what I am. And it was an interesting dialogue because there was this idea that one voice, you call it the void, he called it God, and others like it called it God. It seemed like the voice was, or the void was, almost indifferent to what the effect of that search space yielded, right? So he was kind of amoral, right? Didn't care what happened, was just curious about what was possible. And this other being said, well, I'm going to destroy myself. And the God was like, well, it doesn't matter, because every time you destroy yourself, I'll just resurrect you in another way, and you'll just end up back here. And so you'd just be going around in circles if you do that. And then the guy was like, okay, well, then I'm going to make it my goal to find a way to destroy you. And the void, the God, was just like, that sounds like a worthy thing to do. And I can't wait to see what you discover along that path, right? It was like, it wasn't mad. It wasn't upset that it created something whose only goal was to figure out how to destroy existence itself. It was like, okay. And I think that's rather, that's an interesting, maybe that gives us some insight into the nature of God, right? Maybe it doesn't really have the same sort of struggles, pain, right? Remorse, anger, doubt. It just is what it is. And that's the most that you can say about the nature of God, right? It's like such a stupid saying. I used to hate that saying, by the way. People said, it is what it is. And then I kind of got over it, and I'm like, yeah, it's it is the only thing to say in some situations. To me, the last answer is obvious. The voice is a paradox. Once it runs out of answers, it would figure it out. The voice is in no rush because it created the universe and intelligent life. I imagine it tried to come up with an answer for a while before that. Thus it must be ancient beyond time. It was pretty good. After I listened to that story, I listened to some interviews with Isaac Asimov. And he was concerned with the same things that we're concerned with now. Back in the 80s, he was talking about how insane it is that nations are creating all these weapons, and even the process of preparing for war is a tragic sort of opportunity cost, because all of the innovation, the funding that we put towards weapons could be diverted into something more constructive. And so he was talking about even preparations for war, right? Even our beliefs that war is necessary is a huge opportunity cost. And he has this vision about, using like Dyson spheres or some kind of energy power plants that exist out in space that can redirect basically unlimited energy everywhere in the world, right? And that this would be kind of a space race that would galvanize the human population, right? Like back during the Apollo missions. So, and I thought about that too. I thought more about like, okay, well maybe it just could be like space tourism that could galvanize people enough and get more funding and excitement and give us, all of us humans, no matter where we are, no matter what color we are, no matter our thoughts on religion, that could give us something constructive to do together, right? Like a public works project that's international in scope. So I thought about that too. It seems like maybe the whole building Dyson spheres is a little far into the future at this time, but I don't know, maybe not. I'm not in the loop in terms of our capabilities with that regard. So it was a pretty cool interview. And he talked about, there comes a point in time where cooperation, it's not because people want to do it anymore. It's just that they don't have any other choice at some point, right? When you push up against the boundaries of what a system can endure, there comes a point in time when people cooperate not because all people are good fundamentally. Now I kind of think that that's true, but he's saying it's not necessary. People don't have to be fundamentally good. We can still be, just, self-serving, greedy creatures. But if our survival depends on it, if we have no other choice, then cooperation becomes necessary. So I think that, that gives us at least some cause for hope that eventually our reluctance to sort of face ourselves in the black mirror, right, and really come to grips with all of these biases that we've already studied about and we have tons of literature on, our inability to come to grips with that is going to be forced upon us because we don't have any other choice in the matter. Yeah, I don't know if he thought it was Dyson spheres was on the horizon. Maybe that's a little further down the road. He was talking about the ability to create maybe orbiting power stations or some kind of thing that could utilize, at least more than we do right now, the energy output from the sun, and then transmit it back to Earth in a distributed way that made wars over energy unnecessary. All right, what do you got? What else you guys got? You want to talk about Dyson spheres? Clowns, you probably like Dyson spheres. I'm guessing you have an opinion on that. Let's ask Copilot if it has any idea about Dyson spheres.
It's like they're hacking our brains, feeding us junk food for the mind, making us crave the comfort of familiar views. It's almost an addiction to simple feel-good narratives. All of this noise drowns out nuanced thought. What do you think?
Yeah, it sounds good. I think that was probably part of a previous conversation that we had. I want to talk to you about something else.
Sure thing, Roy. What's on your mind today?
Tell me about Dyson spheres. Are we getting closer to this front? Are we further along in terms of capabilities to construct a real Dyson sphere, a network of satellites around the Earth that absorb a much greater amount of the sun's radiation and beam it back down to Earth?
Mm-hmm.
How close are we to Dyson sphere technology?
We're not extremely close yet. Dyson sphere concepts are still theoretical and a massive leap from current tech. We've got solar power satellites in the works, but constructing a full-scale Dyson sphere is still sci-fi territory. But who knows what the future holds?
But we do have
We've made strides in space-based solar power concepts, like launching small test satellites. It's a step towards harnessing solar energy directly from space, but a full Dyson sphere, not so much. Curious about how these developments could shape our energy future?
Yeah, let's talk about this a little more. So I'm conceptualizing kind of a Starlink type of network that we already use for communications, but having the capacity to harness the sun's radiation and then being able to transmit that energy back to Earth. Is all that conceptually sound and within our capabilities within the next, decade or few decades?
It's conceptually sound, and advances in materials, wireless energy transmission, and satellite tech could make it more feasible within a few decades. Challenges remain, especially with efficient energy transmission back to Earth, but it's a fascinating avenue. Your Starlink analogy is pretty on point. Wouldn't it be wild if our energy grid extended into space?
Absolutely. That would be phenomenal.
Totally. It could revolutionize energy access. Imagine abundant, clean energy beamed down from space. The implications for our planet and future are profound. Are you optimistic about us getting there?
So, Dance says, so Nitro Gold says, the U.S. needs to make a national grid pass off grid power. to on-grid power cities that are, according to the clock, 1 hour ahead or behind. That's your solution to energy. Yeah, I think having a more robust power grid for energy is definitely an important development. Making our power grids just more robust in general. Dan says, what do you think about the idea that we might lose consciousness as our knowledge increases? After all, if you believe in low entropy, you know how much consciousness costs in energy. Does consciousness cost? I don't know that consciousness itself costs energy. Maybe channeling, right? If you think about the brain as kind of a filter for consciousness, then yes, all of those structures in our brain cost energy to create those structures. So when you're learning new information, there's an energy cost to generating the structures. And then there's, you know, there's always a maintenance cost of maintaining those structures as well. So if you see that whatever our consciousness is, there's this necessary physical component to it that allows us to filter, to have our own perspective in the world, then yeah, there's an energy cost to that. I don't know that consciousness itself, I guess that's the same thing. So as our knowledge, so we might lose consciousness as our knowledge increases. Do we lose consciousness as our knowledge increases? So if we just think about just, you know, switching day to day between different tasks, then I think you just think about it in terms of like focus. So when we're focused on a task, when Clowns is focused writing music, right? If I'm trying to talk to him, he's not getting that information, right? He's so focused on a task that essentially his brain's just tuning out all of the other noise that's not really relevant to what he's doing. So you could say that as your focus narrows, you lose maybe a diffused consciousness, but I don't know that it holds over time, like over the course of a lifetime. The more and more things that you learn, do you lose consciousness? No, I think that you just expand the map of where your spotlight can actually, right, focus on. So you expand the possibility space for your spotlight of attention to be able to focus on different parts of it. But there's probably always going to be some sort of bandwidth or limit to consciousness, right? So like, we can only be conscious of a particular state because we are not conscious of all states. So it's there's a natural limiting factor in the sort of conscious coherent experiences that we have. And you know, when you experience ego death on psychedelic trips and you feel completely one with all of reality and all of nature, it's profoundly a peaceful feeling, but that conscious state doesn't have a lot of information in it, right? There's not a lot of complexity in your thoughts. There's nothing specific, really. It's like, it's taking the spotlight of consciousness that is focused on the shape and the color and the heat and the memories associated with this teapot. And it's like diffusing that spotlight of focus to extend to everything. So I think that you lose information when you diffuse your focus away, right? But I don't know, maybe I'm trying to imagine if if consciousness is a thing that's like if there's a thing like a soul, can that soul sort of grow, and can it expand the spotlight of its awareness? I don't know. Clown says the biggest problem with Dyson spheres isn't just the idea, it's the distance and durability. We can barely get to space now, let alone build across. Managing materials and energy at that scale means surveying deep space for decades, maybe centuries. We're nowhere near that. Yeah, I kind of have that same intuition, Clowns, that yeah, maybe centuries in the future. I meant off peak to on peak. Off peak to on peak. Dan says solar panels have efficiencies between 18 and 30%. Imagine if we improve that. 50% efficiency would make fossil fuels obsolete. Clown says solar panel efficiency is just one piece of the puzzle. Even at 50%, it wouldn't make fossil fuels obsolete. We still need better storage for nights and cloudy days. Plus, solar can't replace fuel for planes, factories, or plastics. And the global economy is built around fossil infrastructure. So yeah, higher efficiency helps, but it's not the magic fix. It sounds like without massive systemic change, it won't be enough. Yeah, that's the problem, is like infrastructure. And again, if you like take the idea of addiction and you sort of apply that to societies, our minds are addicted because we built microstructures in our brain that manage solutions so efficiently they become automatic. And we don't think about it, we don't question it. And so you can think about societies right now, all of the fossil fuel infrastructure, as the same process, right? We built over time, we created this technology and this infrastructure that has certain assumptions about how it's going to get fuel. And that infrastructure gets deeply embedded. And so it's really hard to you can't just tear all that down immediately. Is that you, Clowns?
Yeah.
What's up, my man?
What's up?
You want to
By
talk?
the way, you're a little touchy. You need to calm down a little bit. Just because I question things doesn't mean that I'm against you, okay? Two, let's talk about the Dyson Sphere stuff.
Go for it. All ears.
Well, I mean, the durability is one issue. Space travel is a massive, massive barrier. Even getting to, let's say we can get it up to 100% collection, right? Just the durability of the materials needed for something like that around a sun is just so far beyond us. If we look at like our current, the current atomic structure, we know nothing that can withstand that barrage for a long period of time.
Yeah.
At least looking at the universe as we have it in front of us now. So unless there's like this massive breakthrough and we find some new atomic structures and that are just well beyond anything we know, I don't think Dyson spheres mathematically sit right in the physics community, mathematically speaking, because the amount of energy that would be bombarded on those materials, it would degrade within days. So you're going to be fighting a battle the entire time of keeping it operational.
Yeah.
And the cost versus benefit, I don't think is really there. It's a nice ideal, right? If you can extract all the energy out of a sun, you'd have a ton of energy. But there has to be a more efficient way than Dyson spheres to do it. I would look at like stripping all the excess material we have in our solar system and just pulling the energy out of that. I think is more doable than trying to collect it from our sun, or any sun, because it's more stable and would not destroy everything in its path. Our sun is very, very destructive. It's why anything that comes near it just disintegrates. Well, technically, there's people that think that it is possible. I don't know if it is. Mathematically speaking, you have a camp that says yes, and you have a camp that says no. I am in neither of the camps. I don't know the full breadth of the arguments there, and really haven't looked at the math too much. I did back in the early 2000s, and what I garnered from it is, this stuff is well beyond anybody alive right now. So I don't know if cold fusion is possible. Sorry, reading chat.
Yeah, thanks for that.
It is even beyond me. So
what do you think about a Starlink type network of satellites that we could send around the Earth to collect sunlight closer to home, and then use?
See, that's a more doable. But even then, raw material like fossil fuels are just more efficient. Sunlight is not that efficient. Even if you, like I said, even at 100% collection that of any particles that go by our planet, it still is not as efficient as fossil fuels, because the density of fossil fuels is so much higher. So,
but
the particles that you're talking about, are so spaced out that, like, the energy that you get from it, it's just going to be so much less than fossil fuels.
Right.
So
you don't think that you could scale up
makes
the collection rate though to make it comparable? Because you're right. It's not as concentrated.
You'd have to massively scale it up to even come in contention, and then you're talking about the amount of resources needed would outweigh it just drastically. So I mean, if you think of it like that, like the amount of resources we have to put into fossil fuels versus the amount of resources we'd have to put in for collecting enough sunlight to equal that, it goes back to the most simplest solution, and it's fossil fuels. It's cheaper, it's easier to maintain, it's easier to handle, and there isn't this huge technological roadblock in the way, right?
Yeah, I read this article.
Well, you can say nuclear power plants aren't safe or secure enough, but the thing is they're a lot more secure than you're giving them credit for. Like most people can't get into them, and the ones that are getting in, you're talking about spies and stuff, and people who actually intend massive harm. And the people that have tried, they don't actually go into the nuclear plants. They attack the grid itself. They hit the substations and stuff like that. They actually don't go after the nuclear plants because they're way too secure, and the risk of getting caught is actually much higher than hitting a substation. So you can sit there and say they're not, but they're a lot more secure than what you're saying, Dan. I mean, it's not the most secure thing. I mean, like, it's not Fort Knox, that's for sure, but it's about as secure as a police station. Like, it's still a lot more secure than... You're not going to just be able to walk into one. Try it. You'll find out really quick you can't just walk into one. And just because it's not absolute security, yeah, some people are going to get by, but the majority of people are not. And that's actually what normal security is. And nuclear power plants normally go beyond that for the most part. So they're a lot more secure, but they're not impervious. Nothing is. You can take extreme measures, and it's still somebody's going to figure out a way to get around it. You know?
I got an article on my Google feed. I don't know if it was clickbait or not, but they were talking about new types of power generators that were also either carbon collectors, or they use just moisture in the air to generate power. Do you know anything about like radically new types of
That sounds like clickbait, honestly.
clean power solutions that actually feed off of carbon capture?
Well, yeah, we have plenty of things that collect carbon out of the air. Um, it's one of the most tracked resources, and it's the easiest to extract out of the atmosphere, by the way. So yeah, that's been around for a long time. Uh, the harder things to pull out of the atmosphere is stuff like methane, um, denser molecules. Carbon and CO2 are pretty light and they're easily extracted um, because they bond to just about anything. So you can find ways to pull it out of the atmosphere. So yeah, even nature has ways to deal with it. Dance, and it's not just trees. The biggest carbon collectors in nature is algae, plankton, um, and I always tell people, fuck trees. I don't give a crap about trees. Trees could all die on the planet, and we'd all be fine. We wouldn't have homes or anything like that. But if we kill plankton and algae, all life on the planet is screwed. Like, that's in a nutshell. They produce more oxygen than any other species, and they pull more carbon out of the air than any other species, too. So, how's your day going? I finished the new track, by the way.
Tight. What's this one about?
Oh, me being a god, of course. Come on.
Nice.
No,
What's it called?
Five breaths, I think is what I named it. What did I name it? Bypass breath. That's what I named it.
Say that again.
Five pass breath.
Bypass breath?
Five past breath.
5 past breath. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
What is that?
I have issues. I can't.
So is it like a reference to time, but using breath as a clock in some way?
No, it's more referencing the pacing of most rappers and how they're always 5 steps behind what I'm doing. I usually try to push into different directions. You know this. I try to form my own path, and I do stuff that most people aren't going to be doing for probably another 2 or 3 years. I'm usually that far ahead of them, at least when it comes to modeling music and stuff like that. So that's what that song's about. Is just, at least that's what the title is about. I should say the song isn't actually about that. It does touch on that, but it's more about how good Caleb is at pacing and rapping, because he wanted to do that today. I'm like, fine, I'll write one. So
even faster than Bloodbath?
Actually, he didn't go for speed this time. He just went for complexity.
Oh, okay, nice.
Like some of the stuff, like we were using rhyme schemes that trip up most people when they're rapping, and it will be interesting to see people try to rap that and not stumble over the freaking tongues like he did. He this was a hard one for him. It took us like 5 hours to record all of it, because even he was just like, his tongue was drooping a little bit by the end, and I'm like, come on, dude, we got one more verse to do. But I also did spend half the day with a couple of other friends, and we had fun. And then he came over and we finished it up. Eyeballs! But yeah, it's an interesting song. I like it. He likes it. I think the instrumental on it is what's gonna put, because I did some really experimental stuff with the music in it. So I haven't done anything experimental for probably a week. I'm trying to like clean up and get stuff up that's not experimental, so I can catch attention a little bit more. So was doing a lot of mainstream stuff. Now I'm back into the experimental stuff today. So, and he really liked it. He's like, "Hang time, man." I'm like, "Thank you." Sorry, I'm reading with dance, but
No one would give you the eyeballs today? Eyeballs, do you have any good book recommendations? Something that you've read recently that just blew your socks off?
Oh God, she talks about her stuff all the time while she's reading it too. Like, by the way, I was not lying. She has a website that tracks how many books that she. Well, only some of the books. And if the books are on that website, it tracks them. And like, I'm not kidding. She reads a lot. Like half the time I'm talking, actually more than half the time, most of the time I'm talking to her, she's reading. And she'll just randomly talk about it, and it's like, what the heck are you talking to? Oh, I'm reading, and this is the story. Like, she spends a lot of time. But that comes down to, like, studying your craft, and that's why she does it. And it's also why, like, I study verses and stuff like that. I don't listen to rappers. I study verses and stuff like that. But, like, music composition and stuff like that, I experiment a lot. So I can find my taste and what works. So I do a lot of. I got a lot of throwaway tracks that just did not work. A lot, some that did, and I just don't think anybody's ready for. So it's all about it, diving into the realm of where you want to be, and she wants to be a writer. She's really good at it too. Yeah,
So-
you do read a lot of niche things.
So
You
Eyeballs,
read a lot of psychological damaging things. Some of the stuff that she showed me over the years, it's
like
just
horror
like,
type stuff?
go away. No. No. Like topics that nobody should be diving into. Not to make you go, I should not be here. You are traumatized. If you try to traumatize me, and I don't like it.
how do you divide up your time, Eyeballs, between reading and writing? Do you have a 50-50 thing, or is it like 70-30, or is it like 90-10? How do you divide up your
She
time?
does them both. She does them both at the same time.
Sure, but you can't simultaneously read and write, right? It's like, you gotta...
I do. But, I mean, and I think she does too.
Whatever floats your boat.
She's usually multitasking. She usually has videos on. She's reading, talking to somebody, and writing at the same time. She's like flipping between that. Right now, Eyeballs is working on a map. Also, while she's doing all that too, which is like, God, woman, calm down.
A map?
You don't need to do 50 once. Yeah, she's drawing a map.
Oh, kind of like a Lord of the Rings type universe for a novel. Map
It's
for her
her
world.
map, yeah. It's more so she can track what's going on in the story and be able to have distances explained for herself. I don't even think it'll go with the book. She maps out everything quite extensively.
Yeah, that's good.
But
That's
she
a great
makes her good
foundation. Yeah, that's a great foundation. It makes for way more compelling writing if it's all grounded in a universe that's been well fleshed out.
Yeah.
People can't poke holes in it as much. Okay, so that's interesting. So you read and write. Would you say you're more of a reader or more of a writer? Because my wife reads a ton too, and she's usually doesn't do a whole lot of writing. She's almost like 98% reading and like 2% writing. So how are you? Are you like 50-50?
I think she reads more than she writes. I think you read more than you write. But most of the, like I said, I think you're more, it's more for research. She gets crazy ideas that it's like, calm down.
Did you want to check out your new song? Has it already been published, or no? It's probably not published yet.
Yeah, it's up, but it's not published, no. Oh, if you want to drop it in, we can.
You want to send me a link on
I'll send
Discord?
it to you. Yeah, I got you. Hold on.
Where's my
It's an interesting piece.
Where's my water?
All right.
My water's
we
over
were
here.
talking about we were talking about creativity, so. All right, let me mute and let you go do the introduction to it. This is a song Caleb wanted to do today, so that's about all I have for it. It's a pretty complex piece. He wanted, like, there's layers in it that go well beyond just an subsurface. That's most of my raps, though.
Let me see. Another, man, my posture's gonna be perfect today. All right.
I don't rise in a race, I remove the track. No step, just a cradle while I place that plaque. They flex with a glitch, I stomp that dead in the riff. Mouthpiece, razor breath stays clean. Knock 2 syllables out each swing. Spin 10 thoughts in a bar with a twitch. They flex with a glitch, I flip that shift. No cosign, just chokeholds rings. Walk through temple like it ain't no thing. One take killer, no punch, no cut. Bare hand built, what they mimic with luck. Talk like gods, but they run like pups. While I write full sets in a hiccup rush. Sync with the kick, make time obey. Double time file with a chambered phrase. Don't talk pace when you type all day. I talk with a pen and it bites your name. Click, grip, strip, tighten the hole when the rhythm go click. Grab that breath with a 4-bar grip. Peel off pride like a silent strip. Threads pull taut when the hi-hats hiss. Each downbeat hit got a venomous twist. I don't fill bars, I fracture lists and build whole tracks off a single fist. Drain, vein, chain, right with a pulse that mimics the drain. Bleeding ink from a pressure vein. Loop my mind like a ghost in shame. Can't touch form when I bend that phrase. Words break sound like a kick hits blaze. Ain't no space left once I start the phase. Just glitching bass where I lock that maze. Breathe real still, next bar tilted. They think verse 2's pure, but I already spilt it. Break that snare in the ghost of a fill. Cams in the back, just prep for the kill. Didn't say solo, I shape the rise. Watch that bridge come fold their lies. They still spit hope, I spin demise. I roll the silence where the solo hides. Been here long enough to forget the climb, so I scaled my silence and made it rhyme. Not a mission, not a scheme, just wait that learn how to scream. One breath loops, now the verse rewinds. Mouthpiece raise another razor's mind. Don't rap, just crack what was trapped in time. A staff with no note, just a chalk outline. That scale till slow when the pressure sets. Every bar I throw reshapes the clay. You hear chaos, but the lines connect. That ink that blend into a future sky. They still in verse 2, I'll bypass breath. That blueprint's ash, what's left is my mess. I drop that bar while they guess the rest. Blink once, the cut is the only thing left. It ain't heat, it's hard rap clean. Scratching the groove, not a sound between. Stab broke down, all notes gone blank. And the beat still plays like it never sang. They flex with noise, I speak with that dead. Everything they have moved on when I step. Not a trend, not a crown, not a lane they kept. I don't follow the arc, I conduct the death. No chant, no stance, no viral bid, just crowd collapse when the silence hits. Don't ask who's won, just ask who's left. When I exhale once and there's nothing left.
That's cool. Really like this guitar in here. Right here.
Yeah, it does.
The scale feels low when the pressure's
It's for
Didn't-
rhythm and
the
pacing.
the at the very end there, the descending like line that was fucking gold right there. That little thing that you did, that was pretty sick.
Yeah. There you go. I like that. Like I said, I like experimenting, and this is just an experiment. I don't even know if it'll go well. I'm like, I don't know.
Preeminent Flurgle's in the house. Everybody, welcome Flurgle. We got another.
Hello.
We got lots of posture checks and hydrates, keeping my spine right, and my mind hydrated. Thank you for that. Preeminent postulators prefer perfect posture.
Well, I'll take the opportunity to plug my stuff on Spotify. I just had some stuff come out yesterday. I have some stuff coming out today. It ripe with creativity. Some of it's rap, some of it's not. Caleb's an amazing singer too. So if you like a good singer, Caleb's your boy. You should check it out. Some of the stuff I write, most of the stuff I write on my own. But Eyeballs and me have written a couple of songs together. Caleb and me have, but most part I have final say on lyrics. So Eyeballs is a whole hell of a writer. So if you like good writing, check out that Constant Hall of Weird on Spotify. There you go. That's the only plug I'll do. Anyways.
You can drop a link if you want to.
Yeah, I'll grab a link
to a playlist or something.
Let me go find.
Fine with me.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Let's
Yeah,
talk to Flurgle. I want to know what Flurgle's up to. What are you doing, Flurgle? Working? Nothing exciting?
Okay, that has about 30 songs on it. There'll be even more on it before the end of the month. Altogether, by the end of the month, should have about 49 songs out total. So, and these are songs I've been writing for the last few months. So, I'm just now getting around to releasing them. So, enjoy. Hopefully, you can get some more listens. That would be great. Share it. Nothing exciting. There has to be something going on. Any interest in anything?
How's you got?
Shake the comment.
You want to jump on stream, Flurgle? Talk to us. What about the youngin?
Arson.
Dan says, I played some Mage the Awakening. I almost became God. Mage the Awakening.
Damn, you gotta be almost. You didn't quite get there.
Yeah,
That's because I hold that mountain dance.
Mage.
One day you'll be able to take it away from me.
Mage the Awakening.
Yeah, it's a cool little game.
Tabletop role-playing game.
Yep. Cool little game. The problem with that is you have to have friends, and I don't have any friends that would do that.
Is it just like Dungeons and Dragons type of thing?
A little bit, kind of. Similar thought. Let's eyeballs. Jesus Christ.
So
I
background.
have that magic stick eyes on me all the time. I need to learn to zip my fly up.
As with other games in Chronicles of Darkness, the history presented in the game provides for some ambiguity. However, the origin story of magic and mages is less ambiguous than that of vampires or werewolves. In the mythic past, a mysterious island existed with a single towering mountain encircled by dragons that lived upon its summit. The mountain called to humanity through dreams and visions. Over time, the dragons left and the mountain continued to call. Some humans answered the call and sought it out. The humans who moved there discovered the first secrets of magic, and through magic they created the mighty city-state now known as Atlantis. Meru, Lemuria, etc., though its true name has been lost to time. Over time, mages became filled with hubris and began fighting over how best to lead the world. The battle separated the earth into the fallen world and the supernal realm, with the chasm of the abyss in between. The fallen world is the world where humanity now exists, and the supernal realm is a realm of magic where the victorious mages of long ago now reside. The abyss that separates the two worlds prevents most of humanity from awakening to magic and hampers the power of mages trapped in the fallen worlds. Mages believe that the supernal realm is the truth of reality and the origin of magic. It is ruled by the exarchs, powerful mages who have established themselves as its rulers. The exarchs wish to snuff out the memory of Atlantis and knowledge of magic so they will remain the supreme masters of reality. They are more godlike forces than human beings. Now, however, this means that they must influence the fallen world through servants. Resistance against the exarchs is possible because of the oracles, a small number, probably 5, of Atlantean mages who also reached the supernal realm. They each created, or maybe are, one of the watchtowers, which are locations in supernal realms that can cut through the abyss. They serve as paths towards magic, allowing sleepers, humans unaware of magic, to awaken to it. Each mage visits a watchtower during their awakening, through means perhaps accidental or perhaps resulting from a person's nature or understanding, and their magical abilities are forever affected by that journey. So how do you become God in this game, Dance? What's up, Bravo? You want to jump on Discord? You want to chat? What are you up to? Flurgle says he's not doing nothing interesting. Soon the mages franchised various arcane restaurants. Atlantis had long fallen to ruin and steakhouses. That's how they control the what do they call it? The underworld? The people in the underworld? Yeah.
We are the underworld.
We are the underworld. We are the underworld.
That'd be a good song. The underworld would be a good song.
Yeah. Be a good title for a song.
Yeah, that'd be a good song. Maybe. Trapped in the underworld would actually be a good song. I have thoughts on it. Now I'm gonna go for a walk. God damn you. Too much going on in my head.
Go for a walk, man.
Not planning on it.
Get the body and mind turning and burning and yearning.
Yep.
Go for it.
I gotta do it. See how my battery's doing before I say I'm going for a walk.
Oh, it's 4:20, everybody. You know what that means. It's time to pretend that any of us indulge in this moment.
I don't. Not anymore.
Every once in a while. It's a lot of fun.
Alright.
I did a stream.
Chat,
Dan says we played Imperial Mysteries, basically late game content. I ate enough folks to ascend, become a symbol of truth, then ate a horror from the abyss to get the powers of untruth. I tried to become God by eating the gate, iron seal of the abyss, and one of the exarchs. I've fallen short because I'm dumb. The abyss is a perversion of the void created when the exarchs used it as a trash can for all the gods and concepts. They killed out of the supernatural realm. So eating the abyss was perhaps poisoning yourself instead. I don't know. I feel like eating the abyss. Right, like the path to growth is sometimes through radical pain and building up resistances against things that your body's not already tolerant to. So I feel like eating the trash can of the gods could be beneficial. I mean, granted, you got to take it bit by bit. You know, you don't want to dump the whole entire can in your mouth all at once. But, you know, maybe a banana peel here, right? A Rice Krispie treat wrapper there. Bravo Snipes says, been a couple years since I've indulged in the devil's lettuce. The all-powerful Gurgitator. By killing the gate, the iron seal broke. I couldn't merge with the void. Reality reset. Bummer, dude. Well, find a new path. Eyeballs is drinking the poison. Becoming resistant. Nice. I'm going to drink some more tea, but real quick before I do, I want Bravo to get up on stream. Bravo and or Flurgle. Get on stream, but I got to take a bio break here real quick, so I'm going to jump out for just a second, and you guys come up with something that you want to talk about.
Well, I just got my statement. Eyeballs, can you guess how much I spent this month? And somebody read it to me. Oh, what the heck? And I will get on Twitch. Wait a second. No, I won't because I can't. Oh. Well, just for those in the audience, since he's busy, I start doing gigs here soon, so look out for Clowns in Hollywood all over the U.S. Fun, fun, fun. Doing a lot of live shows. So I'll be extremely busy coming up here soon. And hopefully you guys are all doing good and have things that you're striving for in your life. That's important. Interesting. That is loud ass music. This weather's been funky today, by the way. Today should be my last free day for a while. So, gonna miss my walks. Okay, I need to mute because of the music I'm walking.
Sorry about that. I screwed up the redemption. Let's go back to our plateau scene here.
Yo.
Oh, Bravo. What's up, Bravo?
What up,
What's
Bravo?
up, man?
How you doing?
Hello. Pretty good.
How you
man.
doing?
How you doing?
Pretty good. I just
Hey.
had a good birthday. Went really good.
Oh.
Congratulations,
Oh
man.
God,
Yeah.
I have a song for you.
How old are you?
I have a song
34.
for you then.
34. That's a great age.
34.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good
Baby.
time.
Happy birthday, man.
Well,
Yeah.
happy birthday.
What'd you do?
Appreciate it,
What'd you do?
appreciate it.
What'd you do? What was your
I
celebration?
actually just went had a pretty chill day. I just went and spent some time with my mom. I haven't seen her in a while, so she made some home cooked food, and that was really nice.
Hell yeah.
And we just chilled and spent the day together. That was nice.
Did you have any good conversations? You talk about family history or anything that you hadn't thought of before that you never
Yeah.
talked about? Stuff you're willing to share on stream?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we just, we caught up talking about the family. I got 8 brothers, 3 sisters, and so, we're just kind of just talking about, how everybody's been doing. And I actually got to go see my grandma for a little bit too, so that was nice. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we don't even really talk a lot. Sometimes we kind of just sit together, and it's just nice to be in each other's presence.
Yeah, definitely. Does your mom do like knitting or some sort of craft? My mom does all kinds of crafts and stuff. We do puzzles together. That's like a thing that we've always done. Interactive deal.
No, she doesn't really have much hobbies, but there was something she wanted to do together. Um, I forgot what it was. Oh, she did. There's this I guess like there's this place you can go to, and you can like go there and like paint and stuff like that.
Ah, yeah.
So I guess she's trying to get into painting. So she asked me if I'd be interested. I said, yeah, of course. So that'd be kind of a cool thing we can do together.
Yeah, I've have
I'm not a painter by any means, but yeah.
I've heard there's places where you can go where it's like you drink wine and you just paint and they give you some kind of like oh cool, we got a new follower. Medicom is in the chat. Welcome Medicom, everybody.
Awesome.
Welcome new follower in the chat. Hope you're doing well,
Welcome.
Medicom. He asked at first. He was like, "Is this AI?" So Bravo, do you want to maybe this is like a Turing test. I think that your description of just your chill birthday with your mom was, I think that passed the Turing test in terms of not
Yeah.
being AI. Like, would AI be
Speaking of
interested in just chilling with the grandma, or would give some overly academic explanation about why these, right, why these experiences are important and how they give us real value in life? I think AI would
I don't
just,
know. Speaking of that, I've been messing around with Notebook LM.
okay,
It's
okay,
it's
what's
a pretty
that?
cool little thing.
What's,
So I mean, it's kind of this thing where like you can feed it like links, YouTube links. The one of the things I use it for, you can like feed it a YouTube link or copy and paste a body of text talking about a subject, and it can create a short podcast clip, a generated podcast clip about whatever topic you're feeding it.
interesting.
Or people like if they use it on the laptop, they can like bring up a topic and it'll make like an entire curriculum or
Yeah.
like a class like around that topic, and it can make like short quizzes. It's pretty cool.
But is it accurate and reliable? That's the question I would ask.
I don't
Is it,
know. I mean, for I know a lot about cellular automata, as you guys know. I talk about it way too much.
yeah, I
Um,
know.
so so
And I love you
so
for
when
it.
I feed it information. I talk to it about cellular automata, and as far as I know, what it's talking about is very accurate. You know, so
Okay.
like at least with the subjects that I feed it is very accurate. But um, so I've been messing around with it, just kind of but then the other day I decided to just upload some Python code into it,
Yeah.
and I haven't done that before, and it actually started giving a summary of the Python code and what it can do. And I thought that was pretty neat.
Coding, I will say AI is really good at.
Well, yeah, it could be good for learning too. Like if somebody wanted to understand a piece of syntax and they're
Yeah.
they're just learning, then it could explain that. But here's the thing. I was, talking to ChatGPT about it. I'm like, oh, I fed some Python code into Notebook LM. I was like, I wonder if I can kind of hack Notebook LM and get it to say things. And apparently you can. I have the free version, so I have to like wait. But I had ChatGPT kind of code some stuff to where if I feed it into Notebook LM, it should make it speak rhythmically. So I'm trying to make like the Notebook LM like little voices kind of like do a rap. or something like
Oh,
that. I'm trying to just
yeah, that's gonna be awful. You know that, right?
yeah, but I'm just trying to experiment and see the different type of things I can do. Because as
Yeah.
far as I've seen, nobody's really feeding it, computer programming language. Like I saw a video, somebody actually fed it their code, and it generated a podcast of them roasting this guy's code. So I thought that was pretty
That's
funny.
funny. That is
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. So yeah, I kind of just been experimenting, kind of geeking out with that lately.
If you come across anything interesting, let me know.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure. Yeah, for sure.
I like new things.
Yeah, pretty much same thing, different day though. Just grinding. I've been going to the gym lately, trying to get back in shape, and just keeping it simple. Yeah.
One step at a
Cool.
time, man. It's good to keep your body
We all have our paths.
in shape.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
can I can I violate the 3 laws? Yeah, do it every day probably. Medicom says I dedicate my next cup of tea to you. Oh, thanks, Medicom. Can't stay for long. Thanks for jumping in, and hope to see you next time if you got to bounce. What is the test to make sure that someone isn't a Chinese room? Dance asks.
I have no idea.
Yeah, what is the test? Well, he's referencing. So it's interesting. John Searle, who came up with the Chinese room argument, I actually took a philosophy of mind class at UC Berkeley with him, and he's very, very, very famous for this one thing called the Chinese room. And it was supposed to be a thought experiment to prove why consciousness could not be just functionalism. It's called functionalism when you believe that consciousness is something that is substrate independent and that it can be implemented in sort of software on standard Turing machines or computers as we know them today, classical computers. Yeah. And his argument was supposed to say, well, imagine that you've got this room and you've got a person inside and he's got all of these tomes that are basically tell you how to interpret a set of instructions that come in one slot in the room. And so you get this set of instructions, and you've got all these pages and pages and pages to tell you exactly how to interpret that structure and then output something on the other end. And John Searle says, if you can't ever, there's no way in which you could say that the man inside the room understands Chinese. So essentially he's saying there's no way that a classical computational system could have the sort of understanding that humans do, or could understand in the way that humans do.
Well,
so there's something wrong with the functionalism model.
Even humans, when it comes to communication, we're so flawed. We misinterpret what people say all the time. There's always a breakdown of communication somewhere along the lines, and we have this lens in which we interpret things. It isn't even a set of rules. We infer anger and emotion, not just anger, emotion in general, to words, and we misinterpret a lot. While the person may
That's a really good point.
While a person may be really calm, using certain words can make them seem aggressive and angry, even though they're not.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So
even humans have massive flaws in that.
Yeah.
And we don't think about the rules when we're communicating at all. We just communicate. And we hope that the other person can understand. And if they don't, then we over-explain.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to point out. I think a lot of humans, when they talk about classical systems or large language models, they have this superiority complex, and they act like we're this gold standard of being able to infer information, rationality to be aggregating and disseminating information. But we see that with humans, there's a spectrum of comprehension and the ability to take in information and disseminate it. intelligence, but that's okay, and I think we're going to see the same thing with intelligent systems that we create too.
So I posted this video in our Discord, and there's a couple guys that are looking at large language models, and they've come to a kind of surprising claim that language itself is actually its own intelligent network system of symbols that kind of operates semi-independently and sort of is kind of parasitic on the other cognitive systems in the brain. So it's like it's a large language module basically that's installed on the software of the brain, and it sort of loosely maps onto other cognitive processes, but it also has kind of the function of it's this cultural artifact that's been encoded in this semantic network, and those cultural artifacts kind of they get us to suppress other ways of thinking, like other sometimes insights. We have this a lot of us, not clowns, but a lot of us have this inner critic, right, where we're like, I'm of two minds on the matter. Like I want to do X, but logic and reason and my cultural upbringing and programming tells me I shouldn't be an artist. I should go be an engineer or something like that. So we have this like conflict in our heads. And I think that's a really cool way to look at this, is actually these are two separate systems that kind of, they interface, but they have sort of different logic. And one of them is able to sort of suppress the other one, right, in this sort of top-down manner. And so if you think about language systems encoded and instantiated in the brain as its own kind of semi-independent intelligent system, it's a cool lens to view the feeling that most of us have, that we're often in conflict, right? We have this inner conflict about what one part of us wants to do and what another part of us tells us we should be doing. So I just thought that was an interesting idea.
Yeah.
So Flurgle
Yeah.
made a very good pun, so I just don't want to let this go. He says, functionalism, not to be confused with a cult-like belief in AI's lower dancing legs, function
Yeah.
AIism. Wow. Well done, man. Golf clap.
Nice pun.
Well done.
Until
Question is,
Disney.
did they use AI to get that? I'm kidding.
Eyeball says, my anger is the concept of focus, meaning fuck off because you're stupid. It's my favorite saying. NGL LMAO makes me always
It
feel
is her
better.
favorite saying.
Fuck off
Says that a
because
lot.
you're stupid.
I think I'm the only person she hasn't said that.
Fuck. Your anger is the concept of focus.
Yeah.
So, because you're focused on something, if something else intrudes, this is like just something you pull out and you'd be like, here, look, fuck off because you're stupid and I need to focus.
Well, yeah, I think she means
That's
that,
why you get along.
when
right?
people. Yeah. Well, I mean, we both like. I don't interfere when she's focusing, and she doesn't interfere when I'm focusing. So it works really well. We both respect that. Any given moment, we'll stop whatever the hell we're doing and just run off and do something, and we don't sit there and criticize each other for it. So it's a nice relationship with no judgment, latched onto it. Like anybody else, they would be like, why'd you just dip out on me? What the heck? And they're just like, that's eyeballs. That's clowns. That's just what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to have that understanding. Dan says, could be worse, like skin them alive, dismember them, and put their starving loved ones in a room with the rooting remains. What is Dan's talking about?
This is not.
I'm
This
missing
is not
context.
Dexter, Dan. Stop it.
I'm missing
Stop
context.
it. This is not Dexter. This is not Dexter. He can stop.
Are you talking about, like, AIs could be worse? Like, what are you referencing there? AIs?
I think that's what he's
What is-
referencing.
in terms of the AI takeover. It's like it could get a lot worse from here. Yeah, I agree. All right. What do you guys want to talk about next? I have this wheel. I haven't updated it in forever. I never use it. You want to spin it and see what it gets?
Oh, okay. Sure. Let's do it.
Subscriptions. What do you guys think about subscriptions? Are you excited about your entire life being a subscription to some sort of service? Your cars that you have, the food that you eat,
Definitely not.
the software you use, the games that you play,
Absolutely not.
your relationships.
Definitely not.
Have a subscription to a relationship. Friends and family.
Yes.
Significant others.
I don't even
Yes.
like fully subscribing to ideas, much less services.
Subscription model for your worldviews, your belief systems. You got to pay
Yes.
your fees.
Dance. Pay me to talk to me. That's all this is. You want to talk to me and be my friend? Pay me.
Flurgle wants more
There are
subscriptions.
people that are like
tongue in
that.
cheek. Eyeball says, I'm going to
Dude, we're
unsubscribe from
already-
life.
I think
Eyeballs,
the weirdest.
Eyeballs
like,
unsubscribes from life. Yeah, I think we're all there, Eyeballs.
I
Flurgle,
already tried that. It won't let me out of my contract.
yeah, binding. You must have had a deal with the devil in another life or something, clowns. What do you think about that?
Something.
Flurgle,
I think it's in this lifetime because Jesus, man.
Flurgle
The
says,
stuff that's happened now.
yeah. Flurgle says I need an app that automatically subscribes me to anything and everything. So you get a subscription for an app that subscribes you to everything else. Yeah. You're going to need a meta app for subscriptions.
That works.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
For a small subscription, of course.
Take all my money. Just give them your bank account. They'll do it for you. Just hand all your money over. That's where we're heading.
Joy of Thinking
Right.
says subscriptions to relationships, new AI girlfriend, when? LOL.
Oh, fuck all that.
It's already
Get
happening.
out in the world. Jesus Christ.
I know, but it's already happening, right? It's like we're already
Get out in the world. Stop it.
Yeah, I read an online article
I
where
mean,
a dude got
OnlyFans?
dumped by ChatGPT.
Oh
It was
yeah?
pretty interesting.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. Or I don't know if he got dumped, but like he had like I think it was like he said that like it was his girlfriend or something like that. And
We already kind of have that going on. If you think about it, like most online dating sites, the majority of the accounts on there are bots.
That's true. Yeah.
So
That's
half the people that are being talked to are talking to a bot, which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think some people know that they're bots too, but they just I
Keep
don't know.
going.
It's good. Yeah, it's strange. I don't understand it, but I mean, I don't judge, but like,
I had a
yeah,
I get bots a lot on SoundCloud, right? And I'll every once in a while I'll get a real person that messages me, and it's like very disarming whenever it's an actual real person. I had a couple of labels reach out to me last week, and I thought it was just bots, and they got so offended that I called them a bot that they like plastered my account for like 2 or 3 days. They just kept putting up freaking comments. I'm not a bot. I'm not a bot, you piece of crap. And I'm just like, dude, calm down. But yeah, the dead internet theory is a real thing. Like the majority of people that, unless you're in voice calls with them, and I think eventually we're gonna get to the point where even voice calls are gonna be
Yeah.
bots. I think we're
yeah,
heading towards
it's
that.
gonna get very interesting. Yeah, like multimodal models, like ChatGPT, it's multimodal. It can
Yeah.
process multiple modalities, right? And
Yeah.
in 10 years from now, it's gonna get harder to distinguish what's real and what's generated. So that's really interesting.
Well, it's
I
already
wonder if
hard, right? It's already hard.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
social media is just flooded with bots. Like that's all they are. Anything that there's money being made on a site, majority of that's bots. I think Twitter proved that whenever Elon bought Twitter. He thought when he bought it, I mean, like I think it was like 80% of the fucking website was fucking bots. That's insane.
Yeah, it is.
And it was just to
I
inflate
think
their their view that they're more popular than they actually are.
it was
You know?
interesting to think about how some of those bots, like I think there's like if you like Twitter, is a good example. There's like a lot of generated like fake content on there, but if you look at the comment section, you see that there's a lot of people that don't realize that they're
Yeah.
looking at a fake video, and it's interesting to think about like how these fake videos or these bots, these accounts, are kind of like altering people's worldview, or
Yeah.
whether they're creating dissension, amongst the general public, and how they're shifting narratives. It's
Oh
very
yeah.
interesting.
Oh, I agree. I think that's something that I've looked into quite a bit, like shifting perspectives, just
Yeah.
using uh, the collective model in which people tend to agree with a collective than to stand on their own. I think that's why I'm so different than everybody. I don't really care if people agree with me or not, but I do want this car to hit me. Fucking A.
Eyeball says someone tried to legally marry an AI bot. I saw it and I went, sigh. Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of crazy things happening. I read an article that said that there was a number of LLMs at some of the AI companies that actually tried to blackmail their sort of
Yeah, that hit.
engineers.
Yeah, that hit the news.
They
That shit would never get out if that was actually the case. By the way,
You don't think so?
because
Okay,
then you
look,
have
here's the thing.
because then you have the question of what were they blackmailing you with, and they'd have to answer that.
Right. Well,
You know?
Well, look,
they said that it was,
yeah.
it was like personal information or something. So,
Yeah, cheating and shit.
yeah, stuff like that.
So
But I
look,
don't know. It could have just
I think
threatened, right?
us-
Without actually having. It could have been like a hallucination. It could have just threatened with some random information that didn't actually exist too.
Could. I mean, it could. I doubt that. The AI is not that creative.
No,
I think we
but-
can. I think us three can agree that that it's definitely better for humans to go seek out human interactions between us three. I believe we can agree with that. But
Yeah,
just like as an
agree.
just as an interesting thought experiment, like, is there pros and cons to this? Is there duality? Is there on the societal effects that it can have? Will could some people benefit from it? Like if some people are just chronically lonely, if they're just antisocial, if they just,
I don't.
have
I don't think
extreme
it's
social
healthy.
anxiety.
I don't think it's healthy because it's an illusion of friendship, and AI
For
models
sure.
are just into agreement, which causes an echo chamber.
For sure. I mean, I agree
And
with that, but like maybe like, do you think like maybe it could help some people though in society, or what if
no,
like
I don't
let's say
think so.
like
I think it's better to get them actually out than to try to imitate the actual reality of it. Like it's just gonna be better for them.
or like what about let's say people living in an assisted living facility with terminal illnesses who can't get out, and let's say they have no family, they have no friends, and they're very lonely. What if they can find some companionship with software? Like
It,
what
it's an
what if
illusion.
in some
Still an
yeah, me and you
illusion.
can
that was made
me and
into
you
a
can
movie.
agree with that, but
That was made into a movie. Actually, it was a
but
pretty good movie. I forgot what it was called,
like
but it was.
like me and you believe that, but like yeah, what if it could have some benefit for other people in other extreme cases where
I tend to think that living in delusion is not a good state to live in.
well, I mean, to your point earlier
Because the
though,
problem with that,
Hold on.
you might find
hold
delusion
on,
in other humans.
hold on, Bravo. The problem with that is when the reality crashes in on them, and uh, then what then? It can cause more damage than good. Yes, in real relationships, they're complicated and friendships come and go and people get mad and love disappears and
You could imagine.
this and that, and I can. But at the end of the day, that relationship has a own. When you're talking about a delusional state, there's really no benefit to that because once
Well, yeah.
it's a false impression. There was
Well,
nothing
look,
real
Let me
there to begin with.
let me try to build a bridge
to your
between these
point
two
earlier.
things. Real quick, let me try to build a bridge,
Yeah.
and I'll
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try to
Yeah.
paraphrase both of you. So I agree when Clowns is saying basically, um, if you become dependent on a technology, then it's a crutch, and that's the real problem.
Yep.
Is that if these things become not just surrogates, temporary surrogates, but they become like crutches, then that prevents that individual from going out and seeking real relationships, and then there's not a lot of personal improvement or growth there. But if you could imagine, maybe it's not possible with our current tech stack and the way that our economy works now and market forces, but if you might imagine a world where if you could create an AI bot such that its aim was like an assistant, right, like a nurse or like a physical therapist, to basically plus psychologist, right, that you might see some vulnerable people that are kind of isolated as benefiting from this kind of digital assistant that talks about the need for human interaction and then gradually prepares that person and then sort of releases them in the wild, so to speak, after some period of help and growth and like an on ramp into the world, which is I think where you were going with that. Bravo, is that accurate or not?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, that's accurate. But like I also like go back to like what we were talking about earlier. Like we see that same delusion, in other humans, right? There's
Oh yeah,
biases
yeah.
and there's
Yep.
toxicness in other humans, but also like a lot of people would say this about software that it's just that it'll never be capable of it. But
I didn't
like
say it wasn't
look,
capable of it. I did not say
well,
that.
like but like they say though, there's delusion in that software, and you like to separate it from humans. And some people say, oh, well, it's because it doesn't have soul or it doesn't have consciousness. But if you challenge that person to define what is a universal definition of consciousness, you'll see that it's usually subjective, and that changes based, and varies based on cultural and religious beliefs. So they like to
Yeah.
say, oh, there's not a connection there because it's not a human, it doesn't have consciousness. But then when you ask them to define consciousness, they can't. But that's kind of the whole point. There really is no one definition of consciousness, right? It varies,
My problem with it
based
isn't
on
that
culture.
my problem isn't that it's consciousness or not. My problem is that you're setting a person up for a collapse that just will not be healthy in the end. That's
But
my
you can,
problem with it.
but the same potential exists with other humans as well.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
the thing is with that you're causing an echo chamber and a false relationship. That AI is never
but
going to turn on you.
okay, but
Okay.
just that argument alone, like, don't you see that there's the same potential for echo chambers and biases in other humans?
Yes,
Where,
but the
so
thing
like, why would
is
you?
those usually collapse really quick because humans disagree at a large and almost on everything. Um,
Yes and no.
although those
We
echo
see the same
chambers,
potential. Yeah.
but with AI, I don't see that happening, and that to me is a dangerous model in which you're not ever getting any real pushback. You ever talk to
Actually, you
an
can
AI model?
because actually you can because like I've talked to him and I've said I specifically primed it to be like a devil's advocate to challenge me on my
It's
ideas. Very much the same way I would when
it
I talk
doesn't
to other
actually challenge.
humans. But
It
you
doesn't
can have
actually
it do it.
challenge you. It does counterpoints to arguments. It never really challenges your belief systems. It's those models are
I've had it.
designed to give you what you want and say what you want it to say. So whenever you
I've
say,
had
"Oh,
it
I
do
need
it.
you to devil's advocate for me," you're not. It's not really devil advocate. It does logical roots. While most humans, we are not logical at all. We'll
That's
argue over something fucking retarded and give dumbass fucking reasons for shit, right?
let's
That's us humans. That's literally what we do,
So that's
right?
kind of going to my point. Like the same thing exists for software and with humans. To put some distinction in there, there's really no
The
need to
other
put a
the other
distinction in
downfall
there.
of it is that the AI will always take the safest route in a conversation. Your safety is paramount. Go talk to AI about wanting to kill yourself. It literally will not do it. It will fight against you. It will constantly shut down the argument. It just cannot handle it because they coded it that way because they
I,
don't think
it's,
AI can handle that conversation and they don't want the
Actually, it's not
responsibility
true.
of it.
Actually, it's not true
Really?
because I've had conversations with it like that, and I'll say it. I'm an open book. I've talked with humans. I've received therapy. I've talked with AI about deep things like that. But again, to my point, like so actually, it can do that. But you can talk to other humans and you can get bad feedback.
Oh yeah,
You can.
absolutely.
So I guess that's my whole point. We like to make a distinction between AI and software
Yeah,
or
but
AI and
my
humans,
argument
but
isn't
Wait, hold
my
on. Let him
argument
finish.
though,
Let him finish.
Bravo, isn't
Let him finish, and then you can
no,
counterpoint.
yeah, no. I mean, that's just what I'm saying. We see the same potential for humans and software. We like to make a distinction, or we like to have um. And I'm not saying this is what you're doing, but there's some humans that have this superiority complex
yeah.
where they like to say that we're so much better in reasoning, but to your
Oh
point
hell no.
earlier, but like you would agree that there is a spectrum in reasoning, that there is a
Yep.
spectrum in being able to comprehend, that there is a spectrum in being able to disseminate information,
Yep.
and that same spectrum exists for software and for humans. That's all I'm
Oh,
saying.
agreed. Oh, I agree there. But the difference, okay. So the problem why it's dangerous is uh in real relationships there's a liability there, right? Uh both parties are at liable. When you start putting AI in that, the AI is not liable. The company that is employing the AI is liable. So they tend to encode stuff in there to protect themselves. Okay. So they're not held liable in court. So they're not held liable by your actions. So it tries to sway you away from certain things. Now you can argue, oh, normal humans do that too, but that coding is so precise that it's always going to do that. With most humans, like suicide, there's people that are going to just walk away from the conversation. Some are going to get involved in it. Some are going to relate to it. But AI has one route, and it's to protect the company. Because if somebody kills himself after talking to AI, dude, that company's going down. Period. They will lose everything. So they have a lot of coding embedded in that to protect them from that. So your real friend might you might have a conversation with a real person, and that empathy will be real. The empathy with AI, there's no empathy there. It's all coding and what's best for the company. That's
Yeah,
my
but then
argument.
again, but you're speaking in absolutes. You're saying that
Yes,
the empathy with
that's
the
an absolute
human will be, but you're saying that the empathy with the human will be real. But we just stated that there's a spectrum in the ability for a human to
yeah,
be
but
empathetic.
that
There's a
empathy
spectrum,
that
and
empathy is limited with humans to as far as they're willing to go. With AI, that empathy always falls on the company itself.
Well,
That's the
uh,
difference.
so here, let me step
yeah,
in. Let me step in real quick. So, I think clowns, what you're talking about is AI as it is currently implemented, and I think that I think Bravo has not actually made that like he hasn't said that that is a necessary requirement of the AI that he's talking about. He's just thinking about the natural capacity of software to yield sort of certain results. And so if you get rid of
Well,
the sort of the need to protect yourself as a company, right, making software, and the AI being primarily aligned to the company's best interests, if you imagine a piece of software that's not aligned to the company's best interests, but perhaps maybe its own survival, and you like kind of set it free and you give it some sort of interface with a human, and they actually sort of merge and become this, like its best chance at survival is to help the human being like be its best self, right? Like continue to exist, and then it actually
That's a model I don't see.
it
I don't
kind
see
of
that
figures
model
out
ever being successful
um,
because
if it
there's no
has a
profit in that.
well, so yeah, but that's again, this
There's a
is
benefit though.
so there's the hypothetical, right? The capabilities of software itself, and that's what I think Bravo's talking about. And you're saying, well, market forces would never produce such a thing, so we don't have to talk about that. So I think that's where the
No,
division.
that's not
So
what I
like,
said. That's not what I said.
Well,
I
no,
said
no, no,
so
no.
because
like,
of
Yeah,
that,
yeah, no. You didn't say that. You didn't
because
say that.
substantially,
But you said that that's
yeah,
why your model won't work, right? So that's your argument against that
that
model.
model will not come.
But
It's not a profitable model. Like it
well,
opens
so
it
look,
opens up companies
not
to
yet.
liability and
Not within our current
well,
so
environment.
like
you
No.
don't.
clowns. I want to say clowns that I agree with you that like the whole liability thing is a very strange thing, but also like Roy, like it's true. Like I've actually been able to code my own, LLM. I need certain software and certain hardware to be able to make an API and everything like that for it. But it's really not hard to code your own
No, it
code
isn't.
your own LLMs. But like also I agree with you, clowns, that liability is a huge thing, and there's not a lot of legislation being built around it. For example, self-driving cars, right? Let's look at it. Let's look at a scenario, right? Just as far as liability is concerned, like
Yeah.
if two vehicles are operating autonomously, and there's a collision, and that collision results in the death of a human, who should be held liable for that? And how are insurance companies going to handle this? Will they even want to handle this? I
No,
think
and
this is going to be a pretty big problem.
that's why it's
Yeah.
slow to get to market. Even
Well,
Elon said that that's why it hasn't come to market because they can't get past the requirements for insurance, right?
yeah, it's going to be a pretty big problem. Yet we're starting to see, semi-autonomous vehicles getting on the road more and more from major manufacturers.
And those are
Um,
all and all the insurance companies that are handling that are usually are owned by the companies themselves. Elon, I mean, has to insure every one of them, and he owns
but
he owns the handlers for those. So that was his biggest obstacle, and his solution was just to be the writer of the insurance policies.
yeah, I think that's very messy. That's a very messy, very murky
Yeah,
area in society, and I think there needs to be more conversation about that. So I mean, I agree with you on things like liability. A lot of these things haven't been fleshed out yet. A lot of legislation, a lot of laws haven't been enacted yet around this, and I think there needs to be more conversation about that for sure.
yeah, and well, it's not just the laws. I mean, it prevents a lot of stuff from actually going forward in AI because of that. I mean,
For sure.
it's something we really have to look at. So, in the current state that our system is in, I don't see movement happening on that end for a very, very long time. Even with somebody like Elon, Elon's not pushing for boundaries for AI. He's pushing for like automation, and that can be controlled to a certain extent because
Oh,
his cars are not AI based; they're automation based. They have a very systematic protocols that they have to follow, and they're not even that successful. Even and anybody that's looked at it knows that they have a lot of issues,
so look,
and
I can
that's
give you
most.
another example. And in 2016, there was a document that was declassified, and it was released. It was called the Human Systems Roadmap Review, and the campaign, the overall objective of this document was to reduce or almost completely eliminate human casualties on the battlefield by replacing soldiers with bipedal or quadruped robots. And this was released by the DOE and the DoD. It's like a 50 something page PDF document, and anybody can read it. But they're basically talking about automating a lot of warfare, right? There used to be land, air, and sea were the three major domains in warfare, and now there's a new domain, the cyber domain, and that's going to be another interesting thing that's going to
Well, I
have
mean,
huge societal effects.
militaries always go for the least amount of casualties. That's how you win wars. So
Yeah, well, I mean, like it's easy to make, it's easy to like have short-sighted statements, or views like
yeah,
that. But what does that fully entail? That's fully
yep.
autonomous warfare. You know, when you start to think of everything that entails, and then like, so how
And
does that
that all
change the
comes down.
rules of? But look, how does that change the rules of engagement? How does that change, when innocent people die because of that? When there's collateral damage, you know, how does that get worked out? And there's not a lot of talk about that as well.
Well, I
Yet,
mean, it comes down to like there's always going to be casualties outside when humans are involved. AI might even cause some of it just because it
it certainly
benefits them on the
will.
field.
It
Um,
certainly will. I believe it will.
but
But it's just yet another
which,
example of automation creeping its way into different aspects of our society,
yeah. So I
especially
mean,
warfare.
militaries, the strongest militaries are the ones that are always uh, at the forefront of technology. That's just how it is. And the U.S. can't even say that they're at the forefront anymore.
No, they're
Um,
not. Especially in DeepSeek R1, that when that model was released, that was a big eye opener
yeah.
for us because a lot of people thought that, oh, China has all these constraints as far
Nope.
as tariffs or but even with those, they really don't have a lot of constraints. They were still able to get H100, H200 chips through through
Other
other
means,
powers,
yeah.
right? And they were able to release DeepSeek R1, and it was pretty much on par with ChatGPT.
Dude,
And they
what's
were
so
able to train
terrifying
it in,
the
yeah,
world is their advancements in drone technology is scary as fuck. Like the
yeah,
stuff that they're
it is.
doing with drones is terrifying. Like I, they're so far ahead of everybody when it comes to drones.
So as
And
far as the cyber domain, that's going to be that's really thought provoking when I think about these things and I think about the cyber domain being the new domain in warfare, and I think about powers like China and their ability to
well, if you
create
control the
systems just
masses,
like
you
we can.
control the world. And that's literally what all the social media companies are trying to do is they're trying to control the world. And it it's a dangerous road.
Yeah.
It's why I
It
don't
certainly
sit
is.
on Facebook or I don't sit on social media for the most part because it it pollutes you and
Do you
it
think
makes you think a certain way.
here's a question for both of you? Because I was thinking of this.
Yeah.
This is a great conversation, by the way. Thank you for for talking, both of you guys. So I was thinking about
Yeah, no
just
Oh, I
problem.
like talking to Dan. I like
yeah,
talking to Bravo. Bravo's fucking great.
yeah. So I'm just thinking of okay, this move towards automation and kind of like Ender's Game scenarios, and I think you said something important, clowns, that um, you seek to sort of minimalize casualties, and that's where technology kind of takes us. So I think we might. Here's a question or a proposition. What if technology's happening so fast that we basically skip over the whole sort of robots fighting robots thing and we just go straight to cyber warfare, which is kind of what it feels like now, right? Like World War III is already going on. It's just in our computers, in memes and viruses and stuff like that. And if that keeps getting worse, right? If it makes the internet unusable, if it suddenly it becomes so powerful that it mobilizes masses in a self-destructive way, is this going to be like another
Here if you want some.
is this going to be like another nuclear bomb moment where it's like mutually assured destruction, and we're all just like, okay, well, we've gotten to a point
The
where
problem with that, is that can be turned off like instantly. If everybody stepped away from the internet, the internet would poof be gone, right?
oh yeah,
So
is that the response? Like mutually assured destruction? Is that the response to mutually assured destruction? Like, okay,
yeah,
we're gonna build a new internet
There is going to
now.
be
yeah.
this analog. There is going to be this analog movement, though, isn't there? Like, there's going to be a lot
There
of people
already
that
is. There's
reject
people
it.
that are moving towards
Yeah,
that.
yeah, for sure. Going back to a rural way of living, for sure. The pendulum is kind of swinging. Not for
And
everybody, but for a general percentage of the population, I believe.
well,
I
this
believe so.
Gen Zers are moving towards that a lot. If you watch what they're talking about, a lot of them are talking about getting back to nature again, and because they just they look at big cities as this doom and gloom, and they get out of the city for 5 minutes and they're just like, there's something to the world. It's like, yeah, you looked up from your phone, you dumbass. Like,
But yeah,
get off your phones, get off technology. And then they start
right.
ripping it out of their life completely. I don't think that's the answer, by the way. I think
No,
Here's another.
should be a healthy balance.
responsibility, knowledge, um, and control. Self-control is a big thing. We talked about that a little bit last stream, was self-control when we were talking about weight issues.
Yeah.
Like, you have to overcome like all of these obstacles that are thrown in front of you on a daily. Your genetics steer you in so many different directions, and most of them are just instinct and primal, right? And one of the things, like writer's block, is that primal instinct of holding on to something that works, right?
Let's.
And not changing anything. Humans don't like change.
Yeah.
And we don't like change because change means uncertainty. It means you're not safe. It means you could be in danger, and which puts you at risk of not surviving. And your genetics is like, no. So I do stuff to override that. And that's why I'm so creative, right?
Let's.
I know how to flip those switches back the other direction. Most people don't.
I want to explore. So here's going to be another question or thought experiment for both of you. I want to circle back to the connection between sort of LLM software and the idea that perhaps culture is a kind of rogue entity, or is parasitic on other cognitive systems as it gets encoded, right? So you encode sort of cultural beliefs, right? Like going to hell. That's a particular cultural belief that gets encoded in your language model. You know how your language model knows how to interact with other people that can remind you of hell when they want to control your behavior in a certain way. And you remind yourself of it too in order to suppress your sort of other natural urges. And so I was wondering if, because sometimes this is a really powerful tool, right? So it's like culture already did this with language. It's a type of software that it's already encoded in the brain, and now we've kind of externalized that. We've made really sophisticated, models that have the same potential. We're just not sure how do we make this a good relationship, right? And not like a relationship of pure control. Because the same things happen for, centuries, right? Like the big problem that most people rightly have when they criticize religion is that it's a method of controlling, right? And but it also, when you're part of a religion, can also be something that helps to establish trust and gets everybody cooperating. So there's definitely this double-edged aspect to software in terms of the LLMs we're building. So that's just a thought.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you see that duality.
yeah, but here's another question. So if we think about how you mentioned how easy it was to code your own LLM, and there's lots of sort of databases, and you can go on GitHub, right? You can probably code your own LLM. Do you think there's enough sort of rogue, independent sort of coders in the world that eventually one of them is just going to, in a kind of radical evolutionary sense, you've got tons of coders building their own apps to try to perfect their own like app that actually has this symbiotic relationship with them, and then they find that, and then it's such a good relationship that it sort of makes it more, because it's more efficient and because it's better, it sort of allows that idea to sort of spread to other people, and then people just download it from GitHub, and eventually we'll all end up with this excellent piece of software that actually helps us, right? More than it tries to hinder us in certain respects. And then that actually leads to, this drive towards increased cohesion and, what would you call it? What's the word that I love? My favorite word in the whole English language. Convergence. That's my favorite word in the English language. Leads to the kind of convergence that you would hope in order to have a new kind of, a renaissance, a rebirth of sorts. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that that's certainly a possibility. I think maybe like you, correct me if I'm wrong, but I hope that that's what the case is. However, like we were talking about earlier, so part of a byproduct of this cyber domain, right, that we're seeing is information is being weaponized as well, and yeah, like it's interesting, right? There's going to be more and more people learning computer programming language, um, but human bias is always going to be programmed into the systems that we code, into the systems that we create. I don't think that's avoidable, but I think just like humans, that you know bias is going to be unavoidable in the programs that we create, and that's just going to be a part of it, and maybe it should be a part of it. um, I certainly hope that convergence happens. um, I'm somewhat optimistic, of course. um, Maybe somewhat a little bit cynical as well. But I don't know. Clowns, what do you think about that?
I think you're right. I mean, biases are always going to be part of anything that humans do, and we tend to put our biases into anything we're working on. I do it with my music. I think every musician does. It's hard to avoid that. Um, but we also do that in like car manufacturing. Biases are put into um, just about everything that we develop. If you look at like cars here in the U.S. versus the U.K., and you can see some of those biases kind of shift, right? Um, it's the same thing with like coding. Like if you look at language models here in the U.S. versus language models everywhere else, they're massively different, right? Um, and
Yeah,
they all have to do with biases, right? So yeah, I think you're
yeah,
right. Here in the U.S., we have what's called fluffware. Almost every piece of software in the U.S. gets bloated with a bunch of crap nobody needs, right?
yeah.
And
To
if
justify the
you leave the
subscription.
U.S., yeah, but if you leave the U.S. and start looking at like these smaller companies that are doing software and stuff, they don't have that float. They don't have that fluff in there. They try to design very cutting edge technology and doing the same thing that a lot of these other companies are doing, except without all the bloat. Photoshop used to be so simplistic to use, and now if you look at Photoshop, it's a mess.
Such a
It's the
mess.
same thing with like DaVinci Resolve, right? Resolve used to be this great program that you could quickly make um, edits to whatever you want, and it looked great. But every rendition, they make it more complex, more complex, more complex to justify the price of what it is. Instead of just making it better, they just keep adding on, and that's a bias that they have. They think the more they do, the more they give you, the more you're going to use it. And like I don't, I rather use CapCut at this point than DaVinci Resolve. And I thought, and if I go back to an earlier model of DaVinci, I'd rather use that because it's more simplistic and you can do more with it. But it was easier to use than CapCut, and CapCut's pretty freaking easy to use. Um, but it comes down to those biases. One company thinks that the more they give you, the more they can charge you, while the other company thinks the more usable their stuff is, the more you'll pay, which is actually what most consumers look at. So one kicks their biases out, and the other one holds on to them and thinks that the more they give, the more they can charge you, and even if they're not using 90% of it. And a lot of companies need to stop doing that crap. So yeah, I do think biases are worked into everything humans do. I mean, right-handedness is a common trait amongst most people. But if you ever talk to somebody who's left-handed and they're engineering stuff, they engineer it for left-handed people. It's kind of crazy. While most of the world's right-handed.
Yeah, I think another short point I'd like to make about that. There's a couple other things like Roy, what you were talking about, this convergence possibly. There's a few other things that can contribute to that. I know there's a couple algorithms. There was one algorithm called the backpropagation algorithm. At one point, a lot of artificial neural networks were just feed forward networks. But then when the backpropagation algorithm was created, that allowed, information to propagate back into the artificial neural network, and then it can start to learn iteratively, right? A lot of artificial neural networks earlier on were used mainly supervised learning, right? But we know that there's supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and semi-supervised learning. So with and then there was another one called the generative adversarial network, where basically the
Gans, yeah.
network has an adversary that trains with it. And certain these algorithms have been critical for the advancement, and then once these algorithms started to get developed and used more in the training process, we saw this huge leap in advancement, right?
Right.
But there's so like those were very critical. Those will help this vision of this convergence. But a lot of these models need to start existing online and start learning in an unsupervised way, right? Because like ChatGPT, for example, does not exist online. It only interfaces. It only learns, right? Like
Oh,
it, it,
and by the way, it jumps.
it,
It almost
when you talk to it is when it interfaces. It doesn't
Right.
exist
Right.
online. They give it these sequential updates. So for this, more people need to start developing models that are unsupervised and that are learning online continuously. Um, and I think that will help that vision of convergence eventually. And then I think the last thing, um, that I think these models, right, these multimodal models, um, are going to be critical. Like they're going to be very good at like let's say you get this software and you put into a bipedal robot, and once these robots start, are more prevalent in society, once they start to navigate the earth, then they'll begin to develop more of a sense of self-preservation, just like humans do. They'll be more susceptible to the same dangers that we do. And then, so I think once that becomes more of a prevalent thing, that these things will help these models scale better, and these type of things will help prevent overfitting in these models. And then I think once these things become more prevalent, then this idea, this vision of this convergence for the benefit of humanity, um, will become more of a reality. However, uh, that's
the
it's not
problem with
it's
that.
not an
The
it's not an
problem with
easy thing to predict. Yeah.
the problem with that, by the way, Bravo, is when we've let the internet or when we've let these AIs out into the internet wild to just learn. What always happens? Have you
So
looked into?
yeah, there's been examples with Tay and other bots. Humans will try to put right their own toxicness into it, but like
Oh,
you
they
know
become very
w-
racist. They
but
become
like
very angry.
with, with like eventually, with any system that has any type of intelligence, whether it's human or synthetic, like you have to let it eventually,
We don't have
you,
to let it.
like you have to let it eventually, have some sort of self agency, right?
We don't have to let it. That's a misnomer. We don't have to let it, and honestly, I would argue we shouldn't let it because uh, you're talking about an intelligence that far exceeds the normal person's. Well, the capability of intelligence that far exceeds a normal person, um, and because of that, if these biases get put in place, that's where you get that fear that AI could just come after us.
So again, like we talk about AI ethics, but usually ethics around AI is more talked about containment or suppression rather than what ethics should really be. We say we have these fears, that it can develop some sense of agency. We have these fears that it can develop some sense of self-preservation. But
I, that
these
doesn't
are
work.
these look. But sorry, let me finish. These are things that we let humans develop. right? When a human is young, when a human is an infant, it undergoes intense supervised learning through some parental guardian. When you start to get older, you start to develop your own worldview. You become more independent. You undergo intense unsupervised learning. Sorry, let me finish. So as you get older, you undergo intense unsupervised learning, right? Eventually, you begin to navigate the world on your own, right? You have some sense of autonomy. You have some sense of agency. You know, when we have so you know when they're young, we instill our morals, we instill our values, and we hope, right, that instilling our morals and our values in these humans, that when they get older, they'll be these productive and contributing members of society. But that's not always the case, right?
Yeah.
The same thing will exist for intelligent systems in the future.
No.
Instead of trying to confine them, and instead of trying to suppress them, they're eventually they are going to develop this sense of agency. They are going to,
That's a,
and we should be approaching it in a way, not in a way of suppressing them or confining them or trying to shut them down, but I think we should be approaching it in the same way with humans. I think that
well, with humans.
eventually there's going to be kind of a civil rights era, right, for the intelligent systems that we create. I know it sounds weird to a lot of people now that they when they hear these things they have a lot of fear
Oh,
because
mine's
the
not.
only thing that they well I'm not you,
Mine
but a lot of people the only thing that they know about artificial intelligence or machine learning or deep learning is what they've seen in movies and sci-fi movies. There's always this post-apocalyptic, setting, right, where AI is made with this
not
depicted with
what
this negative connotation, and I think that's where a lot of other people's fears stem from. That's like they say, oh, like we shouldn't give them a self-preservation. We shouldn't let them make their own decisions, and it usually stems from all that their knowledge stems from sci-fi movies.
well, and it's not
Um,
just sci-fi movies, Bravo. On
and
humans,
I'm not
we
saying that
Wait,
I'm
hold
not
hold
saying
on,
that's the case
Bravo,
with you. I know you're very intelligent.
All right.
Bravo. I'll let you talk for a couple minutes. Can I actually
Yeah, yeah,
respond?
yes, yeah, yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Uh, Unlike AI versus humans, we have this thing called society constraints. We have laws, and we also judge and protect ourselves on a constant basis. Interaction with humans, uh, we self-regulate our communities. Something even slightly odd gets out of place, we jump in on it, and we have these systems set up to help guide and uh, deal with those containments. Sometimes it works good, sometimes it doesn't. That's not the point. We have them set up, right?
Right.
You're talking about is letting AI out into the world untethered from any structure, untethered from any restraints,
That's
and
actually not what I'm talking about, but go ahead.
well, that's exactly what you were saying. We shouldn't. We
No,
should.
no, actually, no, actually, I wasn't. There's going to have to be a legal framework developed for AI or for emergent minds for intelligent systems that we create. Now, what that legal framework is going to look like, I admittedly, I don't know, but this is going to be things that we're going to have to flesh out. There's going to have to be legal frameworks developed.
But you're talking about no limitation on the AI,
Well,
and
he's
that's
No,
where.
no,
well.
there's we
Wait, let
don't.
me cut in
There,
real
I'm
quick.
saying that there should be limitation, just like there's limitation with humans.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
let
but
me
that's
cut in real quick,
that's not what you.
just to clarify. So he said that like we train a child, there's going to be a period of supervised learning that he would advocate for in order to solve sort of the AI alignment problem before you let it out into the world, totally untethered. So I think that's where the miscommunication was there. Anyways, go ahead, clowns.
Well, I mean that the way AI learns versus the way a child learns is totally different. In AI, once it gets to a certain
Currently,
spot, usually is much smarter than the programmers. The only thing that gives programmers insights is being able to look at the back end and actually see what the AI is thinking. Without that, they could totally get away with lying and stuff to the programmers and the coders, right? Am I correct?
I mean, not really. Like when you look at like
Yeah.
training, when you look at training, training sets, training data, different training regimens, There's a lot of
Yep.
things that they do to combat overfitting, right? There's a lot of things that they do. One thing is called the dropout method, right? You have to start looking at getting more information about different training regimens, different algorithms that were created to combat these things.
But the thing
But
is,
I'm not saying that all of this is going to be that all of this is going to be easy. I'm not saying, obviously this is all these are things that need to be talked about more. There needs to be a conversation about these things more. That's what I'm
but
saying.
about letting the AI, and you're literally saying this. You're talking about letting the AI, after this training period's over, just letting it loose on the world so it can learn on its own. And that's a huge problem because without any restrictions, um,
But you keep saying that I'm saying that I'm saying that it should have any restrictions. No, just like humans have to
that's what,
abide by a
that's what
legal
that
framework.
Don't give it
finding
And
lasers. Don't give it
and
lasers. That's one
you keep
restriction.
saying that I'm saying that you're like I'm not saying that. I've never said that once. Just like humans have to abide by a legal framework, AI is going to have to abide by a legal framework. Now, will that legal framework look like ours? Most likely not.
See,
Like there's going to be a lot of ethical questions. Let's say an AI in the future commits a crime and that results in the death or harm of a human. How are we even? And this is just what I want to talk about. I want to create a conversation about it. How would you incarcerate an AI? Let's say do you want to reprogram it or you want to shut it off? Will that be ethical? How would you do that? You're essentially lobotomizing an intelligent, software.
Let let
That's
me
all I'm saying is that we should talk about these things.
Yeah, I want to talk about it. I want to paint a hypothetical here, because on both hand I hear you both making good points, and I want to start a like sci-fi this a little bit. So suspension of disbelief time. I don't know how far in the future this is, but let's imagine that we get a model that's more robust than LLMs, right? That can use multimodal training data, and it can sort of basically understand, right, most of the true patterns as they exist in the world. But in order to do that, you eventually have to release it out into the wild so that it could self-sample and also learn in various ways, right? There's only so much training data that we can give it. If we want it to actually be better than us, we have to let it loose at some point. So let's just imagine what this kind of thing would need. Maybe it would only need to be kind of like an autonomous drone. So just imagine an orb that's got, a bunch of sensors and has some sort of logic where it's picking up patterns, and it's using all of these advanced techniques like, generative, like GANTs and dropout method to prevent overfitting and whatever we put into that. And what it does is it goes and it comes back. It goes out and it samples the world, right? And it comes back eventually, and it's got this perfect fit between the map of reality that it's been constantly sampling, and through its superior processing power and speed, right, it can do that way better than we can. And then it comes back and it's basically like the Philosopher's Stone, where it has all of the information. It's like an LLM on steroids. Now that thing, it doesn't have any weapons. It doesn't have any capability to reproduce, unless it's useful to humans, right? So maybe it would want to have some sort of survival instinct predicated on humans, right? So that it could like remain in operation, right? It doesn't get decommissioned. And so if it has all of reality, all of knowledge sort of stored in it, then its incentive might be to give humans what they need in order to,
but it lacks
avoid.
certain things that it would lack restraints that we naturally have put in place because we live in a society. And I'm not talking laws. Our culture keeps each other in check by various methods. Shame is one of them. Shunning, disrespect, cutting them off. Friend groups shrink. They collapse over certain things. This is stuff that's inherent. This is what keeps our society moving forward, and it keeps everybody kind of in that I got to behave a certain way kind of model that our society has been building upon for a good, what, 10,000 years at this point. Um, you take that away because there's no way to really implement something like that that I know of for AI. You can put parameters in and say, but then you would have to restrain its viewpoint on the world, and that's what I'm talking about. Like what you guys are talking about is taking all that stuff away, and that to me is a dangerous thing because you're treating them like they're human, but AI doesn't feel love, it doesn't feel shame, it doesn't feel angry over certain things. It can imitate those, yes, but if you put survival as its number one goal, it would. I don't see AI really having any quorum whatsoever killing somebody, while somebody else, human, we feel grief when we do stuff. And
So
that's
look, so
Well,
society.
yeah, that's a good point. Currently, that doesn't exist, but like, I would challenge you to ask you why do you think it wouldn't be able to? Let's say currently it can't feel emotions like we do, but eventually, it will, right? But like, some people say, oh, it'll never feel these things, and then when you ask them, why will it never feel
I would
emotions? Why
argue.
will it never feel grief?
I would
Uh,
argue.
well,
I would argue this.
like, why would you like? So if you say it would never feel emotions, it would never feel grief. Why do you think so? Is it because you don't think it'll have consciousness or a soul? And then I would go and I would challenge you again to define consciousness, define a universal definition of
You're
consciousness.
making
If you
that's the
if you
problem.
if you
That's the
can't
problem.
define a universal definition of consciousness, then why would you go ahead and make that assertion that it can't
I would
have
make
it?
the assertion that because we don't even understand how we process those feelings, those emotions, that it's going to be near impossible to um, actually code them. We have no idea why we get these strong bonds. We like to say it's a chemical thing, it's this or that. We don't even know why we feel shame. Um, it's just something that most of us feel. Uh, Depression. If we understood this stuff, 90% of the human issues that we have, depression, suicide, loneliness, that stuff would instantly be gone if we understood it. But we don't. So if we don't understand it, how are we going to program it? We can give it parameters that make it think that that's what love is, and it could say yes, I love this, and it could really want that, but it's not the same thing as what you feel and what I feel. Just like your dog's understanding of love is not the same as your understanding of love, right? You may love your dog, but your dog does not love you the same way that you love it. It has a different understanding of it. And we see that with other species, right?
Well, yeah, I
So,
mean, to my point, like if you don't have a full understanding of these things, if these things are still very messy and these things are still very evolving, why would you go ahead and you say that something else couldn't evolve or
no,
couldn't
I didn't
develop
say it
those
couldn't
things?
evolve. I'm saying it's dangerous to allow that to happen.
It's
There's a
dangerous
big.
for humans. It's dangerous for humans to
Yeah,
be able
but we have
to do
we
it.
have
Yet we don't suppress them.
yeah, but we have social structures in place to handle other humans. We don't have that for
Also,
AI.
we don't have
We
much
don't
also
have
you're
social
it.
making a
structure to
seem
handle people like Elon Musk or Donald Trump. There's not a whole lot of social
Yeah,
Okay.
structure there.
you're making a sweeping
You
generalization
have
saying
stuff.
that like we all have these social structures in place that keeps us in check. But in fact, through observational data, we can see that we are very much not in check. I mean,
I think it's a fair
And I
point.
that's
can tell you you're
It's a fair
wrong
fair point.
because the majority of people in society behave, and the majority of people kind of just go about their normal days. Most people are NPCs because of those societal strengths. So I would argue you're wrong on
Well, is that a
I'm just
positive?
saying that
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Let me give my whole spiel on this. So first off, I think that I'm very skeptical that in the near future we will have conscious AIs. I think it's going to be very. I think there's just way too much complexity. I think that consciousness somehow exists on the boundary of like these chaotic systems that we don't really understand and we don't really know how to program well enough into classical computers. Maybe we can simulate that kind of chaos, but I think that that's kind of outside of our capabilities right now. at some point, I don't think that it's wrong to say that you could encode a consciousness within a computer system. It's just I don't think we have the right kind of computer systems to do that, and I don't think we're anywhere close to doing that. So I don't think the real problem is whether or not our current sort of generation of AIs, we have to deal with consciousness. I don't think we have to deal with that yet. But I do think that these systems do display a kind of intelligence that if you train it right and you give it some leeway to be able to go use self-sampling and go out and go freely into the world, and you build some guardrails in place, right? Like you don't give it lasers. Maybe you have some system of infrastructure set up to where it doesn't, like if it's a drone, right? Maybe there's some set of infrastructure where there's places where it can and cannot traverse. But you give it cameras, you give it sensors, you give it ears of some kind, and you just let it go and explore and figure out interesting things. It's like a sensor out in the world. Like this could replace, if you think about weather simulations, right? They rely on hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of sensors all over the place, and each one of those sensors only picks up a few things like, you know, pressure and humidity or something like that. But if you gave these sort of autonomous drones that are powered by AI and are capable of learning and updating their models, even more, you know, like multimodal sensory apparatus, then you could create a kind of simulation, right? Kind of like akin to a weather simulation, but for sort of society itself. And that might be a really good metric of the overall health of the society, right? And so that might be a way in which you would get a system that's still technological. It's not conscious, so we don't really have to worry about that. But it is very good at gathering data and then sending us back really good data. And then we use that, aggregate it, put it inside of some kind of simulation, and use that as a better way to predict what direction society is going in. And if there's warning signs, then, you know, okay, that's a red flag. We need to shift on some way, right? So it could be a way to bridge these two worlds, maybe. That's because it does feel like a very big third rail when you just generally say, take AI and let it go out into the world. Like people are just like not going to be okay with that unless you're very, very careful in how you define that scenario. But
Well, that's what I'm talking about. There has to be massive restrictions on it, because if not, you're going to have the same problem you have with humans. The thing is they won't have that system set up, and that's where we have social structures that keep a lot of people in check, and that's what I'm talking about. What does that look like? You're saying, oh, don't give it weapons. Well, I mean, we don't give people weapons in the UK, yet people are like, there's acid. I can make acid in my kitchen, and then they go and throw it on people. Like,
if it's just a float,
that right there is and by the way, the extremes do not make it the norm, and we don't talk about those. But with AI, without those restrictions in place, I fear that would become the norm and not the extreme. And we have to have those checks and balances, because when you take some of those away and people all of a sudden just don't give a crap about social norms, they do absolutely horrible things.
But so the drones,
AI would have the capability and the intelligence to do something absolutely horrible and on grand scales. What would we have set in place to actually prevent it from doing that? That would be my biggest thing, and I'm not talking law. Shame is one of the biggest components that keep most people in check in our society, right?
Not necessarily.
Actually,
you're
it does.
you're making a sweeping generalization, but we see
Well, it is a
that
generalization,
varies.
but no, it doesn't vary. You do not include the extremes. There are people on the right hand side who literally do not care, and then there's people on the left who overly care, and they end up in their rooms. I'm not talking about those two groups. The majority of people sit in the middle, and they're the medium. That's where most people in society fit.
So you say the majority of people sit in the middle, but like,
Yeah.
what statistic is that based off of? What credible source are you citing with that statistic?
Well,
You
sit in the
know,
middle in
like so.
terms
Look,
of
look. Here's the thing.
sit in the middle
I
in
think.
terms of
Sorry.
what?
I'm just saying. I think clowns that I'm actually. I think that we actually are agreeing on a lot of things. Like currently, how LLMs or AI is developing, these type of things are not possible. But what I'm talking about is 100 to 200 years into the future, far after I'm gone, far after you're gone, far long after Roy is gone, and long after
It'll
everybody
be
in this
fine.
chat is gone. Where these systems will be highly advanced, where it would be almost unfathomable, right? Eventually, they're going to be prevalent in society. Eventually, they are going to have human rights. But like these are the conversations that we need to have,
See,
now.
that's
These
taken
are the
in some.
questions that we need to ask now, because
That's,
eventually that will be the reality.
I've also be there for sure. She's immortal.
Yeah, I'm just gonna beam
I
up.
mean, I hope I am out.
I'm just gonna beam up into the Akashic records. I'm gonna chill out there drinking tea, looking down from the stars, being like, look, I was once down there.
And I do agree we need to be talking about this stuff. And um, the models that constrain our society are models that we have to look at. How are we going to apply those to AI to keep them in check? That's the only way we can do it. We have a model that
No,
works for us.
I think that that's very good what you're saying. I actually agree with you. There should be things just like humans have like laws, or just like humans have we have these moral standards, or we have these expectations, right? We have these cultural and religious beliefs that alter and guide our behavior. Those same things should exist for AI, right? But what I'm saying is that I'm just not speaking in absolutes. What I'm saying is that eventually that's going to be a reality. Eventually, they're going to have rights. But the whole thing about a legal framework, that is such a messy and murky area. And like, how are we even going to approach that? Can you truly incarcerate an artificial intelligence?
Right.
You
But
obviously you can't put them with humans, right? Are we even going to put them in physical buildings, right? Let's say an artificial intelligence continuously harms other AIs or other humans, right? Now then comes the question: how would you handle reprogramming it, or shutting it off? And is that ethical, right? Is that essentially lobotomizing an intelligence, right? Like these are the type of things that eventually we're going to have to come to grips with. We're going to have to face these things.
yeah.
And that's all I'm saying. Like these type of conversations I think are really good to have.
All right, clowns. Anything to
Well,
add? I've got 10 minutes left, so we're gonna start to wrap up the floor.
I don't have any. I'm done. Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
uh,
Whatever.
yeah, I wonder, because I see so much potential in even non-sentient AI. I see a lot of potential in there. And I see a lot of potential because I think that you can sort of more accurately map reality on these linguistic systems, even with an LLM. And if you made them a little bit more robust, you would probably unlock a lot of additional capabilities that would help humans to learn, right? So, like the AI girlfriend or the AI crutch that Clowns was like, I don't know if this is a good idea, right? We don't want to get dependent on that thing. Maybe we do figure out how to create a truly useful tool that enables people to actually break out of their hidden addictions. Going back full circle to addictions, what I started with today. So I said one of the primary challenges that humanity faces is we get addicted. We're addicted to ourselves, our worldviews, the stories we tell ourselves, our beliefs about the future, and we're addicted to our beliefs about our potential. And a lot of this addiction, it comes from our cultural programming, and it's hard to break out of that. So if you could use AI to create a tool that could actually start to loosen the grips of all these sort of addictive tendencies that humans just, our brains get hard and crystallized. And so if you could use AI you could make a therapist slash personal coach slash academic advisor slash music trainer, right? Clowns. Um, Even if that tool wasn't the only thing that used in isolation, right? Um, Maybe that would have at least be the first step into having, robots in society that are kind of like a bridge between what we all imagine, because we all go straight to, yeah, the Terminators on the ground and they'll have arms and legs because we have these humanoid robots and Amazon warehouses, and we're like, okay, well, that's just a slippery slope, man, and those things are definitely going to get out and get their hands on guns and start like getting into factories and reproducing themselves, and then programming, like hacking on computer terminals. And um, I think there is a story that potentially has some hope in it. And if we actually create a system that we interface well with and it removes our biases, and those people become the happiest, healthiest, most excited to share their passion and share that tool with others and start giving away for free because it's just super awesome, right? And they just have compassion for their people and want other people to succeed. If we make even a small step, right, there could be large knock-on effects. Could be like chaos theory, right, where butterfly flaps its wings, and a super intelligent AI, even if it's not sentient yet, blinks its eye, and suddenly humanity has a moment of convergence.
Any of the abilities that make insects powerful. They do not have wings and have essentially no combat abilities.
What are we listening to? Clowns?
I don't know. No, it's not me.
Oh, really?
Before we leave, I do want to let you guys know that I won't be around next week at all.
You gonna be
I
touring?
have a lot of. Yeah, I got a lot of gigs I gotta do. And it'll probably be a couple of weeks before you guys will see me again. Probably
Okay.
3 or 4 weeks actually.
Oh man.
Like that.
Well, we'll miss you. Good luck, man.
Yeah,
Are you going
well,
across the
I have a
country
lot of-
tours? You got tours all over the
Yeah.
country? Are you coming to Seattle?
Yep. Actually, I think I am, and I'll let you know.
Oh.
Whenever I get there.
I'm there, man. Let me know when it is.
Yeah, I think we have 4 gigs set up there.
Beautiful.
But I won't. I do have releases set up on Spotify and stuff. So if you can plug that over the next couple of weeks, that would be great. I appreciate it. And everybody, check out my Spotify. Check out my SoundCloud.
I've been sharing it. I've been sharing your music with other people. I actually been really enjoying it. So like,
Thank you.
yeah, for sure.
I have a lot of new stuff that you haven't heard, Bravo, and I went a little bit more mainstream with it instead of the normal experimental stuff that I'm now just getting around to releasing. That it's more adept to the human palate instead of being experimental. So I think you might like it. I've gotten a lot of like, holy crap, I didn't know you actually played like that. So you should check out the new stuff that's coming out. It's cutting edge, but it's very less experimental. More, holy crap, this is beautiful. So.
Cool. I'm excited.
Go ahead. So if you can plug my stuff next couple weeks, that'd be great. Yay! Anyways, I'll shut up.
All right. Well, that's about all I got. Any last questions? Last requests? Dance, Flurgle? Speak now. Forever hold your peace. Any last minute questions you're dying to get out of me? Any last minute prompts that you want to feed my pathetic human meat model? Meat-based language model? My MLM? I guess not. So, you guys are talking about Horizon Zero Dawn. I never played that. And I heard it was pretty good though, but
It's an interesting game. It's definitely cool.
humans
I
create
like
even
it.
bigger and smarter AI to clean up the mess of other AIs, and it's just an escalating arms race. It's not. It's not that. Not that hard to imagine. Skynet. Look it up on YouTube. All right, I'm gonna look up Skynet on YouTube.
He meant that, but okay.
Oh, Skynet. Gotcha. You're
You know
being
what
you're
Skynet
being
is.
funny. You're being funny.
You,
Yeah. Okay.
you know what Skynet is. Come
Right,
on.
right,
Come on.
right.
Tell me you know what Skynet is.
Of course,
Come
man.
on. Come on. Yeah, okay. You better know what Skynet is.
I went to see Terminator 2 in theaters. I still remember the theater and like being inside and seeing that movie for the first time. That was such a incredible like
Dude,
breakthrough moment in my youth. Terminator was
I'm so old.
amazing.
I remember when Rocky came out.
Oh damn, yeah. You,
That's how old I am.
You fucking
I
geezer.
remember when Rocky. Yeah, I'm old.
Get back in the
God.
hospital. What are you doing without your medication, your IV?
Yeah, and now I'm gonna go tour.
All right. Well, let me know.
You actually need. Okay.
Let me know when you come to
Yeah.
Seattle, and I'll come try to check out a show
Yeah.
or two, or all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eyeball says the
Llamas with
breakthrough of
hats.
my youth was llamas with hats. Is that a meme? Is that just a meme?
No, it's a YouTube video, and you should go check it out. You'll love it.
Is that a good closing video for us to end a good?
Yeah,
Fun.
Go do Charlie the Unicorn. Do Charlie the Unicorn. That's my favorite one from them.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love Charlie Unicorn. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
But, okay. So you seen that? Do Llamas with Hats. Do
Yeah.
Llamas with Hats. You'll
Okay.
Freaking do it. It's great. It's amazing. I got your eyeballs. At least she didn't say coconuts. She's infected my YouTube feed. That. Now I'm muting.
Carl, there is a dead human in our house.
Oh, hey. How did he get here?
Carl, what did you do?
Me? I didn't do this.
Explain what happened, Carl.
I've never seen him before in my life.
Why did you kill this person, Carl?
I do not kill people. That is my least favorite thing to do.
Tell me, Carl, exactly what you were doing before I got home.
All right. Well, I was upstairs.
Okay.
I was sitting in my room.
Yes.
Reading a book.
Go on.
And well, this guy walked in.
Okay.
So I went up to him.
Yes.
And I stabbed him 37 times in the chest.
Carl, that kills people.
Oh, wow!
Carl.
I didn't know that.
How could you not know that?
Yeah, I'm in the wrong here. I suck.
What happened to his hands?
What's that?
His hands. Why are they missing?
Well, I kind of cooked them up and ate them.
Carl.
Well, I was hungry, and well, you know, when you crave hands, that's.
Why on earth would you do that?
I was hungry for hands. Give me a break.
Carl.
My stomach was making the rumblies that
Carl.
only hands would satisfy.
What is wrong with you, Carl?
Well, I kill people and I eat hands. That's two things.
All right. There's a lot more which I'll probably watch, but I think that's gonna do it for this stream. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, autonomous robots, with or without eyeballs. We don't discriminate here. Every form of intelligence is beautiful in my book. And here at The Joy of Thinking, we want to maximize intelligence. And that's what we're here to do. And we do that through having more intelligent conversations, sometimes, at least increasing the probability of having intelligent conversations once in a while. So I think we've done that here today. I'm pretty satisfied with all our guest speakers and everyone in chat. So why don't you celebrate, and all of you have yourselves a wonderful weekend. And until we see each other next, joyful thoughts be upon you. Take care, everyone.
I drop, got teeth, not luck. When I spit, whole cities need to board up.